Outlaw with Eleanor Neale is hitting the stage. We're going on tour, baby!
Imagine losing your child or loved one and someone turning it into a concert. Which member of her team told her this was okay? Hey everyone, my name is Florio. Welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel. Either way, it's good to have you here. So today's video, we're going to be doing a little dip into the new kind of content that I was discussing I wanted to cover on this channel. So I want to explore true crime, and especially I want to expose and debunk the false information that true crime creators, whether it be a YouTuber or a documentarian from a Netflix documentary or whatever it might be, I just want to expose how they are spreading like a lot of misinformation about things like that, and kind of delve into the deeper side of this sort of part of true crime that no one really talks about, is the fact that a lot of it is like a lot of misinformation and assumed, facts, not facts, things like that. So today's video, this is going to be unscripted. I'm just kind of wanting to do a little dip where we're going to explore Eleanor Neale, and she is a true crime creator over on YouTube here. And she has recently found herself in a bit of controversy, but this isn't the first time. She has had controversy in the past before. So I did film this once, but looking back on it, I kind of realized that I want to give like a little bit more background information about Eleanor. And as well, somebody sent me a link to a YouTuber named Mika. We'll take a look in a second. And she did a video about Eleanor and what's going on. And Mika put into words what there are aspects of something in true crime that was bothering me, and some of it I was able to understand what it is and articulate it. But then there's other aspects I'm like, there's something else there, but I wasn't quite sure how to like articulate what I was seeing. And Mika explained it very well. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So I'm going to be showing you guys a little bit about Eleanor's past, who she is, about the current controversy that she is under as well. And I do want to actually like take a look at Mika's stuff, because what she says about true crime and things that she talks about, this is why I want to cover this. Like everything she talks about is like exactly the topic path I want to go down when it comes to the true crime stuff. And it's not even just true crime. Like I'm realizing there's other channels like that are storytelling channels that tell true stories, but 90% of it is just made up. How much of these channels, how many of them actually get permission from the families to change the family's story? Because that's the problem here. That is one of the bigger aspects, umbrella issue going on with all this. To start, let's first talk about Eleanor and sort of her background. Eleanor, she started her channel, or at least like it says that her channel was started in 2016. That doesn't always mean that she was delving into true crime right away. I'm not sure exactly what year she started. If I take a look at her videos and go oldest, it says 7 years ago. So 2018 or so, 2017, maybe she did some other stuff originally and then deleted it. It happens. We do that a lot. So she's been around for a long time. But when she first started doing her true crime stuff, she was very like victim focused, very focused on the victim, recognizing the victims and giving them the proper care and everything when retelling these stories. But as time has gone on, I don't know if she changed her views on the victims or if we just started noticing that she was making stuff up, because her in particular, families of victims that she covered came forward to her and told her that she was telling incorrect stories about their family, and they asked her to remove the videos. And I believe that there's a rumor or something like where she didn't remove a video because it had a sponsorship in it. But when I looked into this, because I believe Mika was the first to actually break this story, and I watched Mika's old videos on this, and from how I understand it, it was that they didn't remove the video and didn't respond right away. And it was about a month or so after the video, and then they removed the video. And Mika was explaining a lot of, actually, I think iNabber is one who may have said this on the Across the Pond podcast. These deals with sponsors and brands is oftentimes it'll be like 1 month. They want 1 month with their name out there on the video. Assumptions were made that maybe possibly they waited to respond for so long because they wanted to wait for the sponsorship time limit to come up. That's a possibility. Oh, that's really shady. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up my screen so that you guys can see what I'm seeing, and then I can show you these channels and everything, and we can talk a little bit more about each one. I'm going to be playing you a couple clips, some new things that Eleanor posted as well, because we're going to explore kind of from the beginning. I'll give you a brief overview of where Eleanor started. Her controversy from, I think, about 2-3 years ago, which is with the families contacting her. Then the other controversy she had recently when she rebranded. And now she has another controversy recently, I mean like a year ago. And now she has another controversy like now. So this girl can't seem to be able to stay out of trouble. I don't know who's advising her, but anyway. All right, let me bring us back into a sort of view where you can see my computer screen. This is Eleanor's channel. So if I sorted by the oldest, this is where she started like 7 years ago, right? And she has evolved obviously a lot since then. This is her latest stuff now. True crime, the thumbnails back in the day too. These are probably fine. But as we can see with modern day true crime coverage, really any YouTuber, the thumbnails that they all have are pretty egregious. Like, to be honest, a lot of them are pretty bad. This one, there's the little kid right here saying, "Are you going to kidnap me?" Like, that's weird. It's just inappropriate. This is one that actually Mika pointed out too. So, and there's other ones. And it's also the way in which she covers stuff too that is a problem. We have first the families that asked her to remove videos. Then we have this where she took a break, came back with a rebrand, and her rebrand did not go well. Eleanor, she recently announced that she's doing a true crime whatever tour. She's going on tour. It's very inappropriate. And this is the whole current news that we're going to be discussing today. I am going to plan to do like a deep dive on Eleanor once this tour happens, once we kind of get an idea of the backlash, what happened during the tour. Did she completely change it because of all the backlash she's currently receiving? Or did she just make things worse for herself? So I want to kind of do a more deep dive on Eleanor later, which would be like more scripted, a little bit more research, things like that. What I'm doing today is talking off things the top of my head that I remember because I used to watch Eleanor, and also after watching Mika's video and a couple other people's videos, which I will show you too, it's just been able to kind of piece all this together. So there might be some stuff I'm missing, and if I do miss anything, please do leave it below. As well as always, like, this is my opinion based on public figures and publicly accessible information, and don't go sending any hate or whatever to different creators, of course, as always. Before we get into the rebrand, let's talk about the families that reached out to her because she was spreading false information about them. So this is 3 years ago, and then we're going to be watching, there was an update on it, and that was in the January, so it was a few months after this one. And now in 2025, December, we have the recent controversy from Eleanor. The channel is Mika's Rhetoric. I do recommend that you go check her out. I do really like her. She's very well educated and she's very articulate, and she's able to explain a lot of things in the media. We watch stuff and something just, there's like a spidey sense that something seems off about it, but we can't quite figure it out or pinpoint it. And I found that she's been very good at helping me understand what these things are that I've been noticing but unable to really articulate properly because I didn't really think about things from a storytelling perspective. When you think about all this stuff as they are trying to tell a story because they're trying to sell a story to you, this isn't them trying to do a scientific analysis or some kind of like research report. All these things that we see people release, this is entertainment, and people are creating it, recreating the stories so that it reads like a storytell. This is the key aspect that I just forgot over time, and now like Mika's reminded me about a lot of it. So let's start off with this video. We do have, I think, like about 2 hours worth of video from Mika here. So do go check out the rest of her videos. I will link everything below as well if you want to watch the whole things on your own. I'm going to try to edit down as much as I can so that I'm not using like all of her content. I aim to try to be able to speak like her at some point, but I think my ADHD rattled brain just doesn't let me. So, all right, let's get into this one first.
Recent Eleanor Neale video called The Cult-Like Murder of Joy Morgan. And this was released on August 30th, 2022. In the explosion of true crime content, alike to Eleanor Neale's, who is someone with 2.4 million subscribers, there has grown a lot of conversations about the nature of the content, the morality of the content, and the ways that people utilize it. It's because the way that YouTube functions, right? It's obviously all independent, and there's the aspect of profits, and what is the line of profiting off of such serious topics and situations. And that's what we're going to kind of talk about today. So the video in question, The Cult-Like Murder of Joy Morgan, opens with a short monologue, and then proceeds to immediately fall into the FTC requirement of announcing the sponsorship within the first 30 seconds of a video.
And this would end in the death of one of their most loyal followers. So today's video is going to be another solved true crime case. Today we're going to be talking about the murder of Joy Morgan. But before we get into the case, I do just want to thank our sponsors for making this video possible, NordVPN.
I don't know that I've really developed an opinion on it that I'm confident in when it comes to sponsorships. I do agree that this break in a serious topic to bring in a sponsor feels really disjointed and out of place. They could do better at maybe, a lot of people could do better at maybe doing a different film, filter or something over their sponsorships. Maybe what Bailey Saren does is a noise, a little noise before she gets into sponsorship. At least on the Dark History. I'm not sure if she does it on the Murder Mystery podcast. But I don't really know what my opinion on this is yet, because I do agree that sometimes you have to do sponsorships because YouTube, they'll age restrict stuff or they'll cause issues with your videos. So sponsorships are ways that you can still make money for all the hard work that you put into it. A lot of the true crime stuff, which she will talk about and, I'll get into over time, is a lot of it just feels like they're reading a ChatGPT script or just reading off of Wikipedia. But they do that. They do a little bit of research. I know Bailey actually does order FOIA requests for it, which is still a little bit of a weird thing too as well. But we'll talk about that at some point. It's a little bit of research, but there's a lot of editing and stuff involved too. So that's a lot of time. So understand wanting to be paid for your time. I get why a sponsorship is important to do. And then I get why they open with a story, because if you don't open with a story, then it's hard to hook people in to stay on your channel. But I feel like with Eleanor's size, what is she sitting at? A couple million? What is it again? She's sitting at almost 3 million. And at the time during this video here, I think she was at 1.5 or something million. I feel like if you have 1 million subscribers, I don't feel like you need to start with a big hook at the beginning, but maybe you do. But I don't know. It's a YouTube thing to make people stay on the video. However, I don't know if there's really a good solution to all of this, but like Mika just said there too, well, you decided to make your career off of retelling the stories of people who have been horribly, their life was taken or hurt in some way or whatever. You have decided to make your career off of other people's trauma and sadness and fear and grief. So maybe you shouldn't have chosen that career. That's the aspect too that I'm okay, well, that's a fair argument as well. This is a bigger topic. We're going to keep talking about this in future videos when I cover true crime stuff. So do leave your comments below. Let me know what you think about this kind of topic with the sponsorships, because I probably over time, one day my stuff is going to be demonetized, a video be demonetized, and having a sponsor really helps fill in the gap there. So this video is going to be talking off the top of my head. Anyway, let's check back in at the rest of this.
Yeah, the video continues with trying to develop a relationship between the family and the YouTube audience. So the creator starts kind of talking about the aspects of the family dynamic, the amount of money they had struggles, that a bunch of people passed, the Joy Morgan's father and stepfather passed away and she had no father figures and things like that.
She had an older brother named Earl who she absolutely adored, and he adored her as well. They were a very loving sibling duo, but they bickered as all siblings do, but in the end, they were very, very loyal to each other. They loved each other deeply. When they were young, their mother Carol used to take Earl and Joy to the swimming baths. This was their thing. The three of them, this was their thing. They would go swimming, and then on the walk home, they would go to the chicken shop and get chicken for dinner. That was just something that they did, them three, quite often. It was really, really happy memories for all of them from their childhood.
But this is kind of bringing forward a common trope in true crime that exists in regulated media as well, right? Which is this idea of establishing the crime like a storyline, like a narrative or a piece of media that you typically interact with, right? Like books or stories and fan fictions and the like. So Canada has a media guide, and
this is the aspect that I really like about Mika. Definitely, I love hearing her take on this stuff because she made me remember that this is a storytelling thing. This is storytelling devices. These are storytelling channels, and they're making their money off of how good they're telling this story of what happened to somebody. What we're seeing now is a lot of these little anecdotes that these true crime people do aren't actually true. They've just made them up. Not even his true crime, but like Mr. Ballin. He covers different stories. 90% of what he says isn't true. It's made up. He's made it up for the storytelling to hook people in so they stick around. People think that they're listening to true stories, but anywhere from like, I don't know, from what I've seen, it's a fair amount. Like, I guess with true crime, well, okay, I don't know. If I had to put like a ballpark number on it, overall, all the true story retellings, whether it's YouTube, media, whatever it may be, I'm going to say it's like a 50-50. Like 50% of it is actually made up and 50% of it is the true story. That's where I find this whole thing just gets very disingenuous, right? We see that with the Warren stuff too, when we're covering the paranormal based on a true story. And a lot of people know, oh, based on a true story, okay, then the majority of it probably isn't real. But what these true crimers are doing is they're not saying it's based on a true story. They're like, this is the story of what happened. You know, they're supposed to be reporting on it as if they're journalists in some way. I do find this very fascinating. And I think that it's something I want to explore some more. And who knows, maybe I could like reach out to Mika and do like an interview or something to discuss this stuff. Because if you want to have your eyes open a little bit more on it and understand what you're looking at, she is explaining it very well. Because she's trained in this stuff. So she's in Canada too. So she's going to talk about the Canadian guide to media for working with victims, right? And this is journalists have to do this. And it's where like YouTubers don't even follow the ethics that journalism does, right? So she's going to talk a little bit about this. I'm going to see how much this I leave in, but I think it's just a very fascinating discussion. So like, I want you guys to learn this stuff too, but I also don't want to just replay her entire videos for you too. So I may chop some stuff out. And yeah, definitely check her out after.
And it defines the parameters of reporting on true crime in the like History Channel light as what's called soft news. This means it's not time sensitive, typically dives into the victim a lot more. It works on human interest and background. And this is the format that true crime channels tend to adopt for the reason of, I would assume, and I would dare say, to kind of put themselves in a place of legitimacy, whether the legitimacy exists or not, because a lot of parameters that have to be respected in traditional media do not have to be respected in social media. That's a bit of a different story. YouTube true crime by the Media Guide is defined as web-based media on social medias as a sense of needing for working on expediency and getting the story out as fast as possible, which is still the case on a lot of, like, for example, YouTube reporting commentary channels. And true crime on YouTube doesn't work as much like that, given that it's typically stories that are solved. It's essentially what they're doing is they're just watching true crime content on television and then recycling it.
And this is an interesting discussion. Like, I've always been interested in true crime because I originally wanted to work as a criminologist. So I would often consume some of this content and do some of my own research too, because I was interested in the human psyche and the things that happen around all this kind of stuff. And that was where my interest more was. And I think nowadays people convince themselves that's where their interests are, but we're not realizing, or a lot of people don't realize that like the majority of the way that this stuff is presented isn't even the true story. You know, like they're getting accurate the stuff that was in the trial transcripts and the autopsy reports, but how do they get all the details about the family dynamics and relationships if the people are no longer here with us, right? It's rare that you have those details.
True crime is heavily sensationalized, and one of the sensations that they profit off of the most tends to be murder content or, you know, assault content. So these, like, quite literally the worst nightmares of all life, that's what they're going off of, not somebody screaming about high school bullies on a podcast, right? So these are two very different realms here, right? They keep the comments on because you have to understand too, right, on the platform that everyone says this too, right? Comments drive a majority of the interactions and then thus a majority of the money. So you can understand why you want to keep them on. But what's happening here, and you can see it in this video's comments as well, which Eleanor is ignoring. And this video continues on with Eleanor talking about the family as if her and the family were friends, colloquialisms, and talking about like how, oh, they play Monopoly and everyone just wanted to beat Earl.
Couple went on to have 2 kids together. So Joy now had 2 younger sisters. She was really excited to have sisters because, of course, all she'd ever had was an older brother. So yeah, she was so excited to have 2 more girls in the family. Everyone was so happy. But when Joy hit her teenage years, things started to go wrong, and she had her fair share of hardships throughout her teenage years. In 2016, she suffered her first major loss when her uncle Prince died. And Joy was super close with her uncle Prince. Of course, because her mother used to work like 12, 15-hour days, she needed someone to care for Joy and Earl through those long days, and more often than not, it was Uncle Prince. So he was like a father figure to Joy.
That aspect of things too, I do want to get into more at some point, especially as I do want to look at some of the other storytelling channels. Like I saw that Beardo recently was doing like a live stream reaction at a Mr. Ballin video. I used to love Mr. Ballin until one day he told a story where everyone ended up dying in the story. Well, how did you know that that their toes were cold? Or how did you know that he was thinking about his wife? Like, how do you know all that? And it wasn't just that they all died. It was like a war or something. Also, the whole fort was set on fire. So there's no journal either. So I'm like, how do you know this then? And he's like describing in detail the morning of the attack. And he's like talking about what the person saw over the hill and how they were fighting it. They weren't listening to the spotter and they didn't listen to him. They weren't taking his advice. How do you know that though? Because no one was left alive and there were no journals. So you just made that entire thing up. And this is happening across many different things. Like at this point, I think it's more ethical to just write a fictional story and have a story channel where you're just telling fictional stories. Because if you're going to take a true story and only keep 20 to 50% of the accurate information like true, and then the rest of it you're going to make up for fluff for storytelling purposes, then you shouldn't slap on their true story. If you're going to do that too, then put a disclaimer in the video at the beginning saying this is based on a true story, but facts and information might be changed. That's what they do for TV shows and movies, but they don't do it for YouTube videos. And I see people like, oh, I hate fictional stories and I'd rather listen to true stories. And that's why I listen to this. But this isn't the true story. They're making up half the information that they're feeding you. They're just good at writing a story. They're doing storytelling. And this is something I do want to get into a little bit more on because I think this is going to be the biggest crutch when it comes to true crime for YouTubers. Well, even for the Netflix stuff that we're going to cover too. This need to have to storytell. So you have to make something up to make it more interesting is just, I don't know. Yeah, it's icky. It's icky.
If you were as morally sound as you say you were, you would either turn the comment section off completely or limit them where people are not going to be speculating on someone's assault or murder openly in your comment section to where the family can see it. Because in these comments, and I have the screenshots on the screen, right?
Okay, so this is the first one. I have heard people saying that there's been 3 different videos and 3 different families reached out to Eleanor to take down the videos because they were like, you're making stuff up. Like, this isn't true, what you just said. So this is the first news, story that broke about Eleanor doing this during her videos, and this is the thing. I think we probably realize that people are doing it once it's pointed out. Do we realize how much of the information is incorrect? I feel like people don't think that any of it's being made up, that it is based on information that they have researched and found. And it's just not like they're making all this stuff up to make the story more interesting. Okay, so we'll take a quick look at this. So it says here, Joy is my older sister. Her name is there. This is available on Mika's thing. I'm not going to bring up the person's name because they did ask in Mika's next video that she made to not say her name. So I'm very grateful that you've made this video. However, it's very inaccurate. I'm only 25 minutes in. It's very inaccurate and I'm only 25 minutes in. My mother has 4 children. I'm not going to name them all off as she does. And she says she was also never married to anybody. Uncle Prince died in 2006. My dad died in 2012. Then Paul died in 2014. And those are the different father of the children. So now it says, okay, Joy's the person who passed away. So she started watching these videos. I guess it's like a cult related because we saw it was a cult thing. In 2015 or 2014, she was never racist to anyone. I'll be completely honest. If she was, then she would have gotten the crap beat out of her. And that is the eldest sibling that they're talking about. My mother argued with her for ages, took away the laptop. It was my mom's when all this started. So Joy went out and bought her own laptop. Joy didn't leave voluntarily. My mom was sick of her treatment towards me and kicked her out. She would make comments about my mom in the very beginning. However, this was shut down instantly. Pretty much like she's saying like the opposite of the story that Eleanor was leading with of how this family was functioning and their interpersonal relationships, because Eleanor made that all up for storytelling purposes. Okay, and then she goes on to further say as well, please take this video down, do proper research into my sister and her life before uploading this video. Thanks. One of these replies is concerning too. It says, sorry for your loss, but you're being kind of harsh. This lady's just using information that she found. Maybe you should make your own video with the truth. If your sister joined a church that discriminates, it's not important now, is it? That's a silly argument to be made because first of all, when Eleanor made this video, she was at like 1 or 1.5 million followers. And this other person, they're not going to make a video on their own family's tragedy. And if they do, like, they don't have a platform for it, right? And the thing is, Eleanor is not telling these parts of the story that are incorrect. This isn't what she found online. This is stuff Eleanor made up for storytelling purposes. People are so indoctrinated, the audience, they don't realize that this is what's happening here. And she goes on to say that she was 16. She was a child when she joined the church. My mom didn't get her to help, or my mom didn't get her help. She doesn't even get herself help. That's another problem with this video. The romanticization of my mom and wider family, not my other siblings as well. Then someone's like, well, what's inaccurate? Or what wasn't accurate? I mean, she already listed it. But she's saying like this entire video about my sister is a lot of BS compiled into this video.
And it's also not portrayed with any air of possibility of error either in the delivery.
And that's the other aspect of it. If she opened this up with saying that this is a story based on a true story and some of the information might not be factual and some things are adjusted for storytelling purposes, then we wouldn't be here right now. But true crime channels are not going to say that because they want people to believe that these are true stories, 100% true, because otherwise then people won't watch them. Because people love watching true stories, but they don't, again, a lot of people don't realize or whatever that true stories, a lot of it's fictionalized for media consumption.
Get what's called the ideal victim complex, which the media guy has an entire section on. And it's describing this idea that it makes crime seem very black or white, which then kind of fools people into these cycles of thinking that these things are easily solvable. Not only can you have the ideal victim complex, which they're almost all reported this way to respect the victim, but at the same time, because that is the attachment that you want to the video because of watch time and whatever, but then also allows for open and accessible speculation on that person and to be able to pick apart someone's most tragic ends. Strange, right? I feel like it's strange.
Yeah, and this aspect of it, like what Mika's trying to say is that if you're going to have your comment section open too, then you need to moderate it and not allow speculation, because allowing speculation leaves it open to incorrect interpretation based on your false narrative that you provided in your storytelling, right? Your video that you made. This can also be seen in the Idaho 4 case, which I recently delved into with the Ashley Gillard video that I did, where online sleuths were speculating about who the killer could be, and it led to people being harassed and doxxed and threatened for the 6 weeks or whatever until they figured out that it was Brian Koberger. And it wasn't just Rebecca. There were other people like neighbors and stuff that were being accused by online sleuths as well. And even, we're going to explore the Zodiac case. That's the biggest example of the online and armchair sleuths thinking that they can solve the case. And we're going to get into that because I have a special couple speakers to come join us for that one. So, but this is a problem when it comes to discussion and discourse. If you're going to allow it on your platform and you're going to allow people to speculate based off of incorrect information that you told for storytelling purposes, then maybe you should have your comments turned off. Or maybe you need to moderate them more or make it clear that a lot of the stuff that you said here is made up for storytelling purposes. Like something other than leaving it the way it is now, because the state that everything is in now is what's brought us to this point here. Then Mika goes into a bunch of detail about sort of analyzing true crime as a genre And I do like her points, and she says a lot of interesting stuff. But I'm going to move on to the next video that I want to show you guys. And I do recommend that you check out the rest of this one to hear her points. But it is stuff that I'm going to be touching on as well, because what she talks about here is like the romanticizing of true crime, which is something, the whole reason I kind of want to start doing this stuff is because I'm tired of seeing the romanticizing of it all. All right, so we're going to take a look at her follow-up video after, I believe, Mika actually spoke with the family members directly about this video. So let's take a look at that. The next video is here. Eleanor Neale update on the cult-like murder of Joy Morgan.
Video, if you haven't watched it, I read from Veil's Distortion about black and white thinking. At the heart of argument culture, Tannen writes, is our habit of seeing issues and ideas as absolute and irreconcilable principles continually at war.
She goes on to read an excerpt from this book, and I'm going to skip past. If you want to watch it, you can go check out her video. But some of the stuff that I find very fascinating that she brings up is this way of thinking, right? The black and white way of thinking. And I think we're all guilty of it. I do it a fair amount too. And I do recognize when I do it, and I do try to analyze like why I'm doing it, but sometimes I don't recognize I'm doing it. However, in her recent video too, she also goes on to say that there's no such thing as being neutral, because everyone does have a way that they lean. And I think even that leaning is black and white thinking. It can lead to or is part of the black and white thinking. So I think that this whole discussion is very interesting, and I do find it very fascinating. And she does often tell you which books to read to learn more about this stuff. So definitely go check that out. So I'm going to skip past through here. You can check it out on her channel if you want to hear her read the whole excerpt from the book to you.
What I wanted to talk about more was this idea of how we relate to the content that we watch, the concepts that kind of come through, and the ways that we view each other in regards to what type of content that we watch. I don't want people to think that I'm just attacking somebody, and even in making of this video. However, when you create true crime content, whether you want to admit it or not, there are victims involved. And true victims, not me saying that someone reported something poorly when they have 2.47 million subscribers, make, I would assume, millions of dollars a year at this point.
Just a little side tangent here. When I was making the video, I was looking at Mika's videos where she broke the news about this with Eleanor, and it was like 3 years ago. So I figured that Eleanor must have only been sitting at like 1 million, 1.5 million, but she was saying that she was sitting at 2.47 million subscribers. Currently, she is at 2.88 million. And so I went to Social Blade and stuff to see what's over the last year, what's been going on with the stats on her channel, because it's been 2-3 years since that news first broke. That growth is very slow. So either her growth completely stalled or a lot of people left, because that's very, very slow growth. I know she was away for like 6 months, but still, it seems very odd. So I'm thinking that there is actually people leaving her channel or unsubscribing or not subscribing due to her changes and how she's become completely disrespectful. So I tried to check Social Blade, like I was saying. Then the Google AI gave me a little bit of information here. So it goes on to explain how like her rebrand and stuff obviously affected her statistics as well. I need a subscription at Social Blade or whatever to actually get the stats for last year. It will only give me 14 days worth unless I pay for it. I'm not paying for it. Also, I know like Social Blade's always a little bit off, but the stats are usually correct in the views and whatnot. But it does say here in the last year, she went from 2.88 to 2.9 million subscribers, which is really slow growth for a true crime channel. It looks like there was a shift in average video views, dropping from a range of 1 to 2 million views per video. Now it's at 500,000 to 1 million views. That happened before her break. Well, yeah, see that I don't know, the stuff that the news that Mika broke it looks like her channel has been not doing as well since everything happened, since the first drama happened. Seems like she's just making a lot of poor decisions.
I'm talking about victims like families having their trauma resurfaced and people coming for the families in the resurfacing of that trauma.
People try to victimize people that we criticize, that we critique, right? And they're not victims. Like the victims are, especially in true crime, the victims are the victims that they're being talked about. I'm just laughing because of how, like, I don't know, idiotic this is. I don't know, that people consider Eleanor the victim here because she's being critiqued, by somebody. But the real victim is the story of this woman, Joy, that she told incorrectly as well. And the family members, surviving family members and friends are victims as well when it comes to traumatic events like this. A lot of people don't realize that we're victims and they don't see it. They don't understand how could you be a victim if you weren't there. It's just the way psychology works. Like when you lose somebody traumatically, it causes you trauma and it sticks with you. And it's hard to work through. It's not the same as normal grief. And a lot of people don't recognize that. But I think a lot of people maybe don't recognize it because they haven't been through trauma to that level. I've been through it to that level. So it's like, somewhat to that level. But anyway, I digress. The point is that when we critique people and when I do further videos on people like this, I don't consider them victims if I'm critiquing them. Like, they are doing content based on actual victims who have died. So I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm just on a bit of a rant. Anyway, if I see people in comments who are complaining that I'm picking on somebody or whatever, calling their favorite true crime YouTuber a victim, I'm just going to shake my head at that stuff, honestly. All right. So let's continue on. Let me see. I believe that she reviews her last video on this. So I'm going to skip through that. I'm just going to take a look at where she gets an update from the family members on this.
I have censored the name in this video because she asked for privacy. And please do not seek out this person. And please do not seek out their family. They have had enough trouble with this whole thing. And we'll get into that a little bit more after. I was actually messaged by Joy Morgan's sibling who commented on the original Eleanor Neale video. She reached out to me directly, unprompted, months after my video had come out. And I want to be clear that I am blurring and censoring stuff for this family's privacy. And I will be blocking the disparaging comments as I mentioned. They have gone through enough already through this whole ordeal. I also want to state that this person has submitted proof to me that they are related to Joy Morgan. I will insert a picture here. They have had an email exchange with Eleanor Neale's manager. And this is between Joy Morgan's sibling, the one that was commenting, and Eleanor. And I have been given direct permission to share these with you. And I'm going to put the screenshots that I'm reading on the screen as well.
Okay, I'm going to read you these emails, but as well, she goes in to explain to, I don't know if I'm going to leave it in or she covers it here, but this person who reached out in the comments, they ended up getting harassed. They got it real bad of Eleanor's followers and supporters. That's why she wanted to censor everything, why she wanted to protect their privacy and everything like that. I do think it's messed up that victims, family members coming forward, then get attacked by your audience when you make money off of, like, you made money off of her family's horrible story, like what they went through, their trauma. It's absolutely disgusting that Eleanor never has commented on this, by the way. She's never commented publicly. She's never done anything, said anything. All this email exchange we're going to look at, this is between the family member and a manager of Eleanor's, not Eleanor herself. So, like, Eleanor doesn't care to actually resolve this issue and deal with this issue. She's following the PR thing of keep my mouth shut and don't say anything and it'll eventually go away, which does work. But if you're going to make a career off of telling incorrect victim stories, I do feel like maybe you should resolve your issues around that, around fictional storytelling. And also you should make an apology to the family, and you should have donated the proceeds of that video towards like some sort of charity for victims of trauma, murder victims. Like there is some charities that do that work. But see, the thing is, most people don't know about this controversy of Eleanor's. I only found out about it after she did the rebranding, and I started looking into her a little bit more. And this is where I found out about this happening before the rebrand. The majority of Eleanor's fans don't know this. And this is why she's not going to go public, because then they'll find out that she's a piece of crap. And this is why a lot of people don't realize these true crime podcasters and whatever creators, they're not good people. Like they're just trying to make money off of other people's trauma and horror. Anyhow, I'm going to end up repeating this statement often, and I'm not trying to repeat it to get it through your head. I'm just repeating it because it just keeps coming into my head every time I see this stuff and hear this stuff. All right, so let me just read you off this email here. It says, hello, Joy Morgan is my older sister. I'd like you to delete the video. This is her emailing Eleanor. All right, the sister. I'd like you to delete this video you made about my older sister, as it has a lot of misinformation. Me and my family have reached out on various social media platforms and in the YouTube comments. The comments on YouTube are also vile, blaming my sister for her death or theorizing about her death. I'm only 15. I shouldn't have to argue with people in the comments about my own sister's death, which is what we keep telling everyone. You cover these stories and these kids use YouTube. They're going to come across it at some point. Like, it's messed up that they are already going through teenagerhood and they have this trauma from their past, and then they see some YouTuber make a video about it. It's totally messed up. She goes on to say, all this is still very raw to my family, and even 3 years on, it still hurts to see our sister, auntie, daughter reported on in such an odd way. I don't know where you got your information in this video, but we as a family have never heard it in the press or by mouth of the police. So if you see this, please delete this video. Which also goes to show too that this happened 3 years. So she gave a 3-year window before she turned it into a fictionalized true crime video that she doesn't explain to people that she fictionalized the content. Like, that's scummy. Then gets a reply from Eleanor's manager. It says, "Hi, thank you for your email and my sincerest apologies for only getting back to you now." The delay thing is something a lot of people have been speculating on. For transparency, we have quite a strict filtering system on Eleanor's inbox due to the volume of emails she receives. Unfortunately, this ended up in our spam filter and has only been spotted today, which is common and could be the case. Like, it could be either way. So, however, I don't know why you would check your spam that often. And if it was 30 days, their spam folder is usually empty after 30 days. So I don't know. That seems a little iffy. Anyway, it goes on to say, I'm emailing now to confirm that Eleanor has immediately removed the video. She sends her apologies for any distress this may have caused you or your family. Please know it was and is never her intention to spread misinformation or upset anyone, especially those affected when creating content. I mean, it's not her intention to spread misinformation, but she makes up stories about the family because the stories aren't out there. So she has to make it up to make it more entertaining. Like, this is a bunch of BS. Then it says, please do let us know if there's anything else we can do. And again, our sincerest apologies, best wishes. And it's Beth, which is Eleanor's manager. Please do email me directly for anything further, as I'll be happy to help immediately. So not even an apology from Eleanor, just the manager.
As the following.
And then she emails the manager back and says, hello, thank you. A lot of the things that she stated in the video was not true, and I've never heard it in the media or from police officers or even my family. So I hope you could compile a list of her sources, as I'm still baffled and this video has caused me and my family a lot of harm.
So there are several points that I want to point out in this exchange. For one, there are no actual comments from Eleanor. There are comments from her manager. Eleanor does not have a quote in the email. Eleanor does not reach out to this person directly. I've asked them. There is no correction in other videos, to my understanding.
And then she goes on to explain that, like what I said, Eleanor never responded. There's no quote from Eleanor. Eleanor didn't do a post saying, I'm sorry for doing this. She didn't do a retraction notice. She didn't do a video covering that she messed up. Nothing. So she kind of discusses how she went and checked to see if Eleanor has responded to this herself, which she hasn't, of course.
According to Joy Morgan's sibling, they were never provided with any sources, nor any further communication.
Now, as well with, it's Mika or Mika, and I might be saying this wrong. My massage therapist, her name is spelled like that, Mika, but she goes by Mika, so I might have gotten that wrong. So I apologize if I say her name wrong. Okay, so she's explaining that the sibling sent her statement that she's going to read verbatim to everybody, so I'm just going to play it for you as well.
She said that she was never provided with anything, and then I said, okay, good to know. I am scripting right now. Is there anything you want to say? They say the following. I just would like to stress that Joy was a child when she joined the church, and that we had silly little sibling arguments, but she never stopped loving me or members of her/our family that didn't fit her belief system. Because the way that Eleanor had positioned the video, it made it seem like Joy had hated her family at the end. And her sibling wanted to say that this was not true, and this was a main point of contention from the video that really hurt her and her family. And I want to say that I'm doing this to bring peace to the family, so please let them be. If you have any flack directed towards me, because I'm the one who reopened this by making the first commentary video on it. I can take it, but do not go for somebody who had lost a member of their family.
Then she dates the video showing you her phone and everything, and she shows you how there's no update or statement from Eleanor. of course not. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the next video. Oh, wait, actually, before we do that, hold on. Okay, so this is all before her rebranding. Now, Eleanor ended up taking a break from her channel. I don't remember why. Maybe I'll have to watch this with you guys. I feel like she burnt out or something like that. And then she came back. Did she announce the rebrand here? If she didn't, we're going to find the rebrand because the rebrand commercial is kind of inappropriate. So let's take a look at her taking a break for a bit.
Hello everybody, how are you all? This video is a bit different, I'm sure you can tell already. It's more of a personal update. It's going to be a quick one, but I just wanted to be very transparent with you guys because it does affect the near future of this channel. So if you've been around watching my videos, if you've been subscribed for a few years, first of all, thank you so much. It means the world to me. I love what I do on this channel. But you might have noticed that I take chunks of time away from this channel. Like sometimes I will just kind of disappear for a couple of months, and those breaks are often left unexplained. I don't really give you a reason for them. Well, if you follow my second channel, you might have a bit more intel on why I go missing. It is often very sudden, unexpected mental health breaks that I get. I am an individual with quite fragile mental health. I get burnt out very easily and very often. I have breakdowns, I have anxiety, depression, just going to put it all out there for you. I am in regular therapy, I'm working on it all, don't worry. This isn't like a sob story. But I'm sure you can imagine that the work that we do on this channel can get very, very heavy sometimes. We come across the most horrific details of crimes. A lot of the time we don't include them in the video because they are so traumatizing.
Okay, so this is interesting. I went to her vlog channel just to kind of take a look. I wanted to see if she talked about any of this stuff as well in her vlogs. And it looks like she's starting her own like talent management company, which is interesting and kind of rich considering that she has had a lot of controversies. So I wouldn't trust her to manage me, but I just going to play you a little bit of a clip of this.
Everything is so exciting for me at the moment. I just launched my talent management company, Moth Management. Me and my own in-house manager, Nick Butler, have co-founded a talent management company together because honestly, if no one can get the job done right, bloody do it yourself.
Also, just to add to this, she was saying that she was on break. If you look at her vlog, you'll know more. And I kind of looked back to figure out where like things were at and why. So I looked, it was around the time that she had the surgery, right? And like she had a boob job, but I think she had a skin removal from her arms, if I remember correctly. I did watch this. Then she talked about heartbreaks. She broke up with someone. So she was going through a breakup. She went through surgery, but then she ended up, is this a new boyfriend or an old boyfriend? I don't know. But the thing that I find interesting is she ended up going on tour with him. So the whole time that she was on break, he was on tour. So they were doing a tour together. And it was when she came back from break and when she came back after his tour that then she talks here in this video about she's been working on setting up her own tour, which makes me feel like that is maybe why she's doing this. Like she enjoyed going on tour with her boyfriend and thought, I want to have my own tour too. Anyway, it's just a theory, but I think that's where this is coming from. I think that she really enjoyed the traveling and the tour and then decided to try to make one of her own. And this is one thing I don't really get about true crime stuff, I suppose, but I feel like I was maybe more desensitized by stuff when I was younger. And that's why I wanted to get into some sort of law enforcement related field. But even I did that video on Ashley Gillard, and I covered a lot of true crime cases in it because it led up to her story and how she ended up where she is. And I watched a lot of stuff, like, so I could fully understand all the cases. Like I watched a lot. I watched a lot of videos, a lot of very graphic stuff, you know, to do with the autopsy, how someone passed away, things like that. I watched the victim impact statements, trial stuff, and this stuff is heavy material. And that's why I also don't understand how you can watch that stuff and then make up stories about these family members and victims' lives that just isn't true. I don't understand that disconnect there. And I feel like you are disconnecting from the entire story, and that's the only reason you can keep up doing this work and making up lies, or something else is going on. Like, I don't know. I'm speculating as to like, why do you get affected by the stories and you feel this way and you always cared about the victims first at the beginning, and now you just turned to this whole like storytelling kind of motif. So she talks about burnout and everything like that. And yeah, I experience a lot of burnout very easily too. And the fibromyalgia does not help things. I also have like my own mental struggles as well. But it's also why I was like, I don't want to get into true crime. I don't want to do a true crime channel, even though I know it does well. And I know a lot of the stories because I followed them when I was like, all over the years. But it's just too difficult to maintain as a topic. Like, yeah, this is why I don't understand. Then, so she took a break for this. And then when she came back, she did her rebrand. And the way that then she started wanting to report on these different stories became even more detached and treating them like it was a gossip magazine or gossip rag or whatever you want to call it nowadays, like TMZ kind of deal or like Keemstar levels, right? Try to like kiki around a table with your girlfriends and talk about stuff. This is the next mistake that Eleanor makes that gets publicized. And I just want to touch on it. We're going to explore it some more too, but it's important to understand this because she's showing a pattern here of sort of disrespect for our victims and what has happened. So let's see. Is this her trailer for the new rebrand? Let me see.
Throughout history, women have been labeled gossips. Their friendships built on connection, confiding, and swapping knowledge have always been seen as a threat to patriarchal power. In the 1500s, accused gossips would have their heads locked in cages, be dropped into rivers, or even burnt at the stake for speaking or knowing too much. But still, women risked it, because sharing stories had become their greatest weapon and defense. With it, they could organize political movements, crush reputations, share medical knowledge, infiltrate war efforts, and spread awareness. Women's ability to gather information and share stories has saved lives, and we're not about to slow down anytime soon. Introducing Outlaw Podcast, a place for these stories to be told, for us to gather, discuss, and inspire change. The law lives here at Outlaw. Outlaw.
I do believe that there was more to this because I remember seeing more, and I think maybe some of it was cut out. Essentially, she wanted to come back and present these stories as if it was like women sitting around a table having fun, gossiping, kikiing, whatever, right? Treat them as gossip. It's not gossip though. Like oftentimes gossip is made up stories. That's what gossip is. The other is just reporting. You know what I mean? So there was more to this. I swear there was more to this. I'll see if I can find it. If I can find it, I will try to edit it in when I go to edit. But like, I'm fairly certain there was more to this. I remember her saying that she wanted this channel to now be like as if she's sitting down with her friends and talking about a recent story in the news or whatever it might be and sharing ideas and whatever, kikiing essentially. Oh, right. The other thing, this is what I want to talk about some more on. And I think it was maybe I Never in the Over the Pond podcast, the recent episode, the second one that they did on Eleanor. It was very recent. I think they discussed it, how it's either them or Mika, but they discussed how that a lot of true crime channels and a lot of true crime content creators are trying to position themselves as saving lives because they're telling a story and teaching people what to look for or whatever in order to save your life, because murders happen that often. They don't though. You would save more lives teaching someone about proper exercise and diet, because that's pretty much the number one killer, right? Is heart problems and cancer. Well, sometimes that's avoidable. But regardless, I know, side tangent. Regardless, they try to sort of set themselves up to be very moral and say that they're helping people by telling these stories, that there is a good reason why they're telling the story, and it's for visibility and to learn from and whatever else. A lot of the true crime channels try to set themselves up like that. And that's just a total cop-out. Like, that's just them trying to rationalize their really skewed moral compass. And I may not be explaining myself very well here on my personal, I guess, levels of morality. I don't think there's anything wrong with telling history. I don't think there's anything wrong with sharing a story of what happened as long as it stays factual. But it's when they add stuff to the story that is not true to make it more entertaining, but they don't tell people that this is 100% not true, or they don't make it clear that a good chunk of their stuff is not true. That's when I have a problem. The other ones I have problems with is when they romanticize the perpetrator, or when they're always trying to find reasons as to why the perpetrator is doing this, which I think is good to do in school as a criminologist to understand and learn from, or as a psychologist. But for people on YouTube to try to empathize with the perpetrator and understand where they're coming from while completely ignoring the victims, I understand that's a way to compartmentalize and cope with reporting on that news all the time, or reporting on these stories all the time. And there are certain YouTube true crime people that do this, like Bailey Sarian. She concentrates more on the perpetrator. It seems like with these true crime people is either they're making up stuff to make the story more sad, relatable, whatever, the perfect victim narrative, right? Or they are trying to analyze or empathize with the perpetrator in some way and then take the psychology angle. But none of these people are trained psychologists or criminologists. And it just does breed speculation in the comments, which then can cause damage to the existing survivors, families, and friends, right? Of the crime that happened. So hopefully I'm making myself understood properly, because I'm not trying to sit on a total moral high horse here. I just think that there are some lines that people are crossing, and they might not be a moral line for you as the listener here, but they are for me. And, I don't think there's anything wrong with talking about history or things that are proven that were true, but I just think there's something wrong with making up lies about history. And I also think that in a public setting, we probably shouldn't be romanticizing the perpetrator. Like that needs to stop. And Hollywood, TV and movies are the most guilty of doing this. I'm sorry to go on these rants, but this is sort of my first true crime deep dive analysis, whatever thing that we're doing here today. It's a mixture of Eleanor and a mixture of YouTube true crime presenters. And because we're kind of getting our feet wet, I just want to make it clear, I guess, where my morals stand on this stuff. And I'm not trying to say don't ever talk about true crime cases. I'm just saying that we need to talk about them and handle them in a certain way so that all the victims are protected still, and that we don't romanticize the perpetrator and we don't make up stuff. Facts only. At least there's some channels that they say that they cover it because they like talking about the psyche and the mind and the psychology of a killer, which I get. And that does kind of bring people in initially. I mean, that's what brought me in when I was younger. That's why I wanted to do criminology in the first place, because I wanted to understand how a human could do these things to another human. Because I'm like, I don't understand how you can live with yourself, right? So I know there's like Bailey Sarian, and I know there's other channels too, but Bailey is one example where she doesn't try to actually be on a moral high ground. I'm not saying that she's good. She gets a lot of information correct, and we will cover her. But I do enjoy her dark history stuff, and she still gets information incorrect in that too. But she at least says that she covers these channels because of curiosity, and she wants to understand why someone does something like that to somebody. And at least she's honest about it in that sense, and Bailey doesn't actually make up stories about interpersonal relationships. The stuff that she tells is actually all accurate, but she does a lot more research than anyone else. She's one of the very few channels that actually does FOIA requests and stuff. There are other people who do it, but not every channel does it. The majority of channels don't. They just Google stuff. So some channels do put in more effort. And while Bailey, it can be very dismissive because she's doing her makeup while telling the story. I know why some channels start doing their makeup doing it. It's mainly because they're nervous in front of the camera. They don't have teleprompter, whatever. And then they get stuck in this pinhole of women doing their makeup while telling true crime stories. It's like an actual niche, right? But it's something we'll explore as well, because there's a whole side aspect to that too. And I'd like to hear everyone's opinions on it too, because I'm kind of in the middle. Anyway, point is, she ended up rebranding like this. Then people left feedback saying that they were a little bit nervous about where this was headed, because they don't see these stories as something to kiki about. And also, not to mention, when she first started her channel, she was very victim focused, very about the victims. So coming out and rebranding like this after saying you're burnt out from all the sad stories, people had obvious concerns. And actually, I wonder, did they leave anything in the messages? Yeah, see, this one's going to be tough to find. There was feedback at the time, this goes way back. Because she was away for a number of months, we have a lot of welcome back messages. It's a lot to work through. So then she ended up doing this story next. This OF model was murdered and impersonated. And she did that. And she did this story very lighthearted and like it was gossiping around a table.
Trust me, girls, this is all very important context for the story. I mean, it is a bit, but like, I just love going on tangents. Man, have I missed this? Just chewing your ear off about anything I want to in the middle of a true crime case. Anyways.
Comments on this video too. This person says the amount of small talk and jokes is actually crazy. This person says she talked about tattoos for a whole 15 minutes. Calling a teenager illegally getting tattoos a badass? ? So out of touch, like, girl, you're talking about a deceased person. I was thinking the same thing. A woman lost her life and she's treating it like teenage gossip. Yeah, I mean, like, this is the feedback. Then she ended up doing like a public statement saying that she hears everyone's concerns and comments and she's going to change. She's going to dial it back and just like try to become more about reporting true crime again. It's funny because she did make a public statement about that, but I think it was because she was actually hemorrhaging subscribers and like it was really bad, her comeback. I think that's why she was kind of forced to make a statement.
I have read the comments on the last episode and I appreciate the feedback that some of you guys think that the new style was a little too chatty. Look, I hear you, and hopefully this episode will be a much better vibe match. We're just still figuring out the best way to do this less edited podcast style, which is a choice that I've made for my own mental health when it comes to creating this content.
Well, I can appreciate wanting to change up how you make your videos for your own mental health, physical health, all that. I feel you there. But again, in her video where she said she was taking a break, she says she has very poor mental health or sensitive mental health. And this just makes me ask again, why are you working in true crime? Why work in a topic that literally affects mental health? Why don't you change it up and go into a different direction? If you're not comfortable telling these stories anymore and it's hurting you and you're hurting the families and friends of the victims, maybe it's time to change everything. And now she goes on to define what the podcast is, what she stands for. And I normally wouldn't have necessarily clocked this, but now after seeing Mika point out some stuff, this seems like she is trying to put herself back up on the moral high ground to say, I'm doing this for the victims. I'm doing this to tell stories. I'm doing this to honor people. Just to remind the audience that she is doing this for the right reasons and not the huge paycheck.
The main thing that I hope shines through is what Outlaw stands for, and that's giving a platform to victims and voices and causes that need it.
But this was about the time when I actually stopped watching her, to be honest. I did watch a bunch of her stuff before then. I've said this before because you guys are going to see I've watched this stuff when we review this. I've said this before. If you didn't catch any of my other videos, I always was a consumer of this content since very young, but I wanted to work in the field. However, in the last, I would say maybe like 2 years, but definitely in the last year, I just have noticed that things have become more sensationalized, more over the top, and just something didn't feel right and it's not sitting right. And then I'm seeing that there is a lot of crossover with ghost hunting and true crime. And now I'm starting to actually see all the issues here. I'm trying really hard not to go on too many side tangents, but whatever. This video is just filled with them at this point. This is what we're doing. I just want to add as well, because some people said it to me, if it's not clear, when I'm saying that there's a lot more crossover with true crime and ghost hunting, I'm not talking about like, okay, we go to Lizzie Borden's house and we investigate it. No, I'm saying like there's a lot of ghost hunters who are actually becoming true crime YouTubers, and there's ghost hunters who are going to places where there was like a case, like something happened like 6 months ago or even a month ago, and they're going there with their devices to try to solve the crime before the police do. That's the shit that I'm talking about when I say that there's a lot more crossover happening. Psychics have always done this. Ghost hunters were never that brazen. They would usually do cases that were like older, murders and stuff like Lizzie Borden, for instance. So it's this new weird wave I'm seeing where there are a lot of ghost hunters, paranormal investigators getting into true crime, conspiracies, cults, things like that. But they're taking their devices to a location and having their phone apps tell them who done it, and then labeling their video with "We solved this case." Like, that's the problem I'm talking about when I'm saying that I'm seeing an influx of it. I do feel like in the last year, though, it's been a lot of people trying to one-up each other in the algorithm. And then we had the monster thing. I mean, the Ed Gein season, like that was a complete disaster. So it's just, I do think in the last year it's gotten worse, and I just have noticed it. And that's why I want to make this content now, like kind of pointing out these things and exposing this stuff. 3 years ago, I was watching all of them, like all these true crime creators, to be honest. And if you're new to my channel, I go on tangents a lot and go, I have ADHD. You're on the road. You're on the path with me. So you're going to have to deal with it. Okay. So she did this comeback, and this was like her next controversy. Everyone was very upset about this video and how she just wasn't taking anything seriously. Then she adjusted and she went back to more serious tone. But honestly, like, I don't know. I just feel like the thumbnails have started to change, and that's what started turning me off of a lot of people too. So, and the titling and stuff, and the types of cases, like there's certain people like Daniel Kirsty constantly covering stuff to do with kids. Like, why do you have to always cover stuff to do with kids? People that cover stuff to do with kids, they do it for the sensationalist aspect of it. And I just think it's a little much to do constant kids. I think it's just too much. She does that, or she does a lot of cannibal stuff. And again, that stuff is also like, it's gore, it's sensationalized, it gets the clicks. Like, a lot of people think Daniel Kirsty is very sincere, but the topics she chooses, the way she does her thumbnails and her titles, it's very deliberate. I can see what she's doing. She is trying to compete with certain channels, right? Okay, so that brings us to today. And as well, let's just also do some honorable shout outs here, because there are other creators that I did hear originally about this from, and then I kind of went exploring. And so I'm not going to be necessarily playing clips from their videos. I do really like Mika, and I kind of want to concentrate on her, but let me bring up two other creators where I kind of heard the story from. The first people I do want to do a little shout out for is Over the Pond podcast. And this podcast is run by iNabber and Obese to Beast. So it's the two of them, and they meet up and they discuss different news and things like that. So they first covered it here. And the clips that iNabber showed is from the YouTube channel where I originally was watching it, and he had the story, Eleanor's Instagram story, backed up. So I do want to also call him out as well. He's actually a smaller channel, so I would like to actually call him out. Shout him out. Sorry. So the other creator that I also was watching stuff through is Slot Mule. Like I already said, make sure that you follow these creators. So now we're going to start off by first I'm going to show you the announcement of her tour, because we're going to sort of look at that together. It didn't go over well. I thought it was very inappropriate sounding as well too. This TikTok, he does play the whole announcement video and then he comments on it. I might leave in some of his commentary because it's pretty good. It's not bad. So let's take a look at this here. And this is from Adam_H44.
To do this together in real life, because Outlaw with Eleanor Neale is hitting the stage. We're going on tour, baby. 2026 will be our first chance to catch Outlaw live, where together we're going to analyze criminal cases, look through.
My initial thoughts and reactions, and most people were, you're way too excited about going on tour to share people's tragic stories. And like, it's very inappropriate energy for this. And why would you go on tour to share stories, true crime stories? Go on tour to do like a meet and greet or something, a Q&A, a talk on, women's safety or something like that. But she's planning to cover cases on this tour. And so this energy level and the way she is just, it's gross.
Together, we're going to analyze criminal cases, look through evidence, debate suspects. It's what we do best around here.
And the debating suspects and analyze, like this all goes back to what Mika was saying about how people are sort of theorizing stuff without properly knowing the story, because you're giving an incorrect story. It's incorrect narrative. It does more harm than good when you do that. Now you're encouraging that on this tour.
Can't wait to do it all with you in person.
How can you have that much excitement about going on tour where you're going to be talking with people about how people got murdered in the most brutal ways possible?
This is sort of the shared opinion of her, is how she's kind of doing this.
Like, does it ever click in your head that maybe certain things are just not appropriate.
Let's look at the backlash first. Hold on. She did the announcement. And then we see here, imagine losing your child or loved one and someone turning it into a concert. Which member of her team told her this was okay? Forensic psychologist. I've worked with victims and families of survivors of crime, similar to those Eleanor discusses. Let me tell you, the fallout doesn't stop at the outcome of the case. It does not. The detrimental impact can have is like a ripple. Yeah, and it carries on for another generation even after. I started watching this channel when I was about 15 because one of the only channels that actually give a platform to the victims and survivors, which is the whole thing, without glorifying their trauma and making the entire thing about what was wrong with perpetrators. However, in recent years, I've noticed a shift. This is the problem, right? Channels now become another gossip channel for true crime, and a lot of her videos filling the content being discussed and shared is almost like a secret, a perverse secret. Even the name Outlaw rubs me the wrong way. I know we joke about our traumas, but outwardly calling it lore and discussing other people's trauma in this manner doesn't sit right with me. That's a good point. Yeah. Now for the tour. To discuss people's trauma in the open and in person and call it a fun time. Trauma and death and everything aligned with that should not be glamorized or minimized. It's an inherent morbid curiosity, I know, but giving way to that curiosity instead of changing it into something that can help merely quashes the entire point of talking about these cases, giving a voice to the people who no longer have one. And they say, they go on to say, Eleanor, I hope that you come to your senses. That's actually that's a really good comment. But you can see the whole Outlaw rebrand was the start of your downfall. Eleanor, we love you, but this isn't a good idea. Like, everyone's complaining about it. It's not just on YouTube. People are making TikToks. People are complaining on Instagram. There's been a lot. A lot has been going on after she announced this. Okay, then she did a response video. And on top of that, then we also found out that she pre-announced this tour or pre-discussed this tour in a live or another video. And in that one, she looks even more dismissive of the seriousness of this topic. So let's take a look at these. And then I want to take a look at Mika's response to all this as well.
Acknowledge the comments. And I just want to reassure you guys above everything else that here at Outlaw, whether it's online in the podcast episodes or in real life, these cases will always be handled with care, with respect, and with real responsibility. For this tour, the focus is on the investigation in itself. We're working closely with people who were involved in the case. We're looking at how lines of inquiry developed. We're comparing suspects where it's relevant.
I want to analyze this a little bit and explain something to you because this was brought up at the time before she did this response. So let me just point out some things.
For this tour, the focus is on the investigation in itself.
Okay, she says the tour focus is on the investigation itself, and we're working closely with people who are involved in it all. When she announced this tour, she never said that. She is now saying it because she has received backlash. When they were planning this tour, they didn't really know what it was going to look like or what they were going to do. In her first announcement, she said that you were going to analyze cases together. She never said this part.
We're working closely with people who were involved in the case. We're looking at how lines of inquiry developed. We're comparing suspects where it's relevant.
And all that. She didn't put that in her first announcement. And now she's saying it now because that is exactly the criticism that is being brought up. And people are pointing out now her old controversy with the families that asked her to remove videos. And I think there are actually a few families, and this is where we do the deep dive. We're going to look into it. I have stuff saved around all over the place that I kind of ran into, and I was going to explore a little bit more. A lot of people were naming names of families on Reddit, and I wanted to actually research them. But that's for another video for another day. But point is, she added all this wording and all this stuff in after she received backlash. And on top of that, this was an Instagram story and I think a TikTok story. So they're gone after 24 hours. So this response, it didn't stay up. I'm assuming for liability reasons. I don't know.
All the intention of Outlaw is and always has been to honor victims and to raise awareness. And of course, with this tour, we're going to be partnering with incredible, crucial charities and organizations.
The charities and organizations thing is a big deal here. All right. She never said in the first announcement that they were working with charities and organizations. On the ticketing sale website, it doesn't say anything about charities and organizations. It doesn't say what percentage of proceeds are going to charities and organizations. She says that we're working with them. I have it saved somewhere, but I think someone else found something where people were asking how much money is the charity getting or what charities are you working with? And she was like, we're still in talks to figure it out. You're telling us you already planned a tour. but you didn't think about what charities to involve until after your tour was planned. No, you're doing this as response to the negative backlash. Like, she's doing this to cover her butt from a PR standpoint. This is a PR disaster, and she's handling it. She has probably a PR firm that's handling it, telling her what to say and do.
You guys know I deeply, deeply care about the work that we do, more than I can even put into words. And I'm looking forward to having these really important discussions with you all in real life.
Okay, so that's her announcement there. She ended up also including a statement about the charities too. And she says, I also want to make it clear that all of Outlaw's proceeds from ticket sales will be donated to vital nonprofit organizations supporting those affected by violence and abuse. We're still in planning conversations with these charities, exploring meaningful ways to involve them throughout. But I'll be able to tell you more specific, I was having trouble with that. Says collaboration plan soon, which means that she never pre-planned this. This is a response to the backlash. And then it goes on to say, we recognize this genre carries weight, and I've always taken that responsibility seriously. This one here is, she did this before all the tour. She was in talks with her management, whatever, to plan a tour. And this is her discussing about the tour she wants to plan, and that she's asking viewers for feedback, what they'd like to see at something like this at a tour. And it's just very flippant the way she's talking, and very dismissive of the topic matter and what she's discussing as well. So there are some annoying edits actually in that TikTok, and I ended up finding it was on her vlog channel, and some of the annoying edits are her edits, which seem very inappropriate. So I'm just going to play you it from actually her vlog channel here.
Talk about the Outlaw Tour, or the Out Tour, if you will. We have officially begun talks with our touring agent about bringing the show on the road. How exciting! It's very, very, very early on in conversation right now. And I'm not 100% sure what an Outlaw Tour would look like just yet. Because I don't want it to be depressing, is the only thing. But the nature of what I do and the content that I make, what can you do about that? How can you make it not depressing whilst keeping it true to what I do? We're figuring it out. Thinking with the tour, we're going to have interactive segments, maybe guests, or getting audience members involved to tell some stories alongside me.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues with this video, and this is older than her announcement one. So you're going to have audience members come up and tell their own stories of trauma. Not a smart idea. Or join you to tell the stories of cases that they don't know the full details of, thus spreading more misinformation. Again, not a good idea.
If you have any ideas or requests for what you would want an Outlaw Tour to look like, please do let us know. Or if you do want it to be very classic and just me sat there telling a story, I fear that is what you're going to want. Not I fear, because I do love doing that. It is my job. But just because I wouldn't want to do a live show and have the mood be sad and somber. Oh, I love somber. What? Anyway.
Why have a career in this genre, and why do a tour? You just shouldn't. She said, oh, I love somber. It just shows the attitude that she has towards the very real, horrible cases and trauma that have happened to people. This, it's insane. It's insanity. I want to talk about Mika's recent video on this Eleanor Neale drama, the update that Mika has done. This is a long video of Mika's. There's a lot of really good stuff in it though, and I have thoughts and comments and stuff I want to make on it. So strap in for this part. This one is her better video discussing the true crime stuff. I mean, it has been 3 years since she first talked about true crime, and she has gotten even more articulate and explained the media aspect of it even more and even better. So I really do like this video. Okay, so come join me as we delve into this, a bit of a longer video here. A lot of what she says, I'm going to be applying a lot of this to future videos too, because first off, she says stuff I was already thinking, and then she helps me explain my thinking with the knowledge she has, which I've already said this. I know I'm horrible. I repeat it a lot. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, let's jump in.
For neutral source, I'm not that guy today. I'm not that guy because I tried that the first time I did this, got people saying I was jealous that I'm ugly and she's not, had people just doing the most blatant disregard, and just so much bad faith pushback on me defending victims of her spreading misinformation.
Pause here first off. I don't know if Mika will ever see this video, but just put out there. People leave comments like that when they don't have a cogent argument to actually say against what you're saying. People follow creators. It's almost like cult of personality. right? And so people get really attached to their creators. And if there's a problem with their creator, they push back like religious belief. And they don't like to question who they've put all this energy, time, emotion, and faith into because it hurts their brain and physically to do so, right? They're having like a cognitive dissonance with their favorite creator. So that being said, I have found that usually when you get comments like, oh, you're just jealous, they compare your subscriber counts. I can't think of there's like 4 that are you get a lot. And that's usually either the person is like 12, which happens most often, or it's a person who can't actually come up with a counter to your criticism, but they want to insult you because they're angry that you are making them question their belief in somebody, right? So anyway, long story short, my point is, if you ever see this, just ignore them, like don't care. And I know in this video you're saying like, I don't care, I'm going to do what I want. And that is how you should do it. I think that you're handling it well in this video. Like, I think this is the way to go. She goes into like, neutrality doesn't really exist and stuff like that, which is what I've always told people. I don't try to pretend to be neutral. I have a stance that I take on something and I think it's pretty obvious. And I don't say, hey, let's tell the story as a neutral party. No, I'm going to give you my opinion on it. I'm not expecting my opinion to become your opinion. It's just, I'm not going to lie to you and pretend like I'm going to be neutral or pretend like I don't have an opinion, because all of us have opinions and it's disingenuous to hide it. And this is why when I first turned on this video, because this is the first video I was given as introduction into Mika recently. So when I first put on this and she was talking about people aren't really neutral in this, and she goes into this in more detail, I just thought, man, this is like all the stuff that I always say. And I love this girl. So anyway, definitely let's continue on. But I just want to say, like, if Mika ever comes across this, like, just ignore those people, because they're only saying that. It's a schoolyard insult that they're saying because they can't think of anything to counter your reasonable and accurate criticism.
It's only worse than it was last time I checked in. So that being said, if you're looking for someone to blow smoke up the booties here, this isn't the place. I've gotten to a point in my commentary that I'm really tired of trying to sugarcoat this because there is no such thing as unbiased commentary in any capacity. Even if a slop tuber wants to pretend that they do that, that's not the case. And with this person, I don't know, it feels like weird moves, and I'll explain as I go down the line. That being said, you're getting the opportunity to click off right now. If I feel standoffish to you, by all means. I'm only saying this just because I really feel like for some reason, people are not going to take my position honestly if I don't make that abundantly clear. So let's get right into it. Eleanor Neale and previous commentary.
And that right there, that is what I absolutely love to hear. I like to hear that someone isn't scared to just speak their mind and take a stance on something, choose a side. Because we all actually do choose sides, even if we pretend like we don't. The only times we don't choose sides is when we literally don't care about the topic. Human nature, we always end up choosing a side. And even when we try to present something as neutral, our particular side that we've chosen tends to come out more, especially when we're the one talking at the camera, we're the one writing the script, and we're the one editing the video. Even if we try to really be aware to not include our own bias in it, it's nearly impossible. Your bias is going to be included in it. So I think it's just better to be upfront about your bias. I think this is what everyone should be doing. Just be upfront about it and don't like sugarcoat stuff and don't like sit in the middle. Don't fence it.
Same, but under a different name. Exactly the same, but with less posed empathy, being called the Outlaw with Eleanor Neale podcast, which is on her channel. To be completely honest, I have no idea what the difference is between the original content and this Outlaw podcast content, even though I have not looked in on this person for...
And that's the thing. She rebranded with the hopes to make the content a little bit less sad, a little bit less empathetic, more about kikiing and gossip as a style, but it didn't go over well. But now she already rebranded everything and she's already done the brand thing. So she just kind of stuck with the brand, but then backtracked more into her old ways. But even at that, I mean, she hadn't been respecting victims for a long time anyhow. So yeah, nothing does look different because when she tried to change it, and this is where Mika, she didn't cover this part of Eleanor. She wasn't aware of this. She's been doing her own thing. And when Mika is looking at her content now, she's like, nothing has changed. It's like, yeah, because when she tried to make the change, it did not go over well. Like, she would have probably done better to just release the first video without announcing the brand change and then see how the video does with the idea and then do a brand change. But anyway, I don't know who's managing her, to be honest, or if she's just like pushes back on management, but I feel like whoever's advising her is not doing a good job, because even this tour thing is not a good idea. So I've been editing, going hard on this video for a while now. It's obviously a very long video, like usual. However, I can't remember if I ended up posting or recording a thing about her management and the PR and all this stuff that's managing her. It's her. She started her own management company with a friend of hers, because she didn't like the way she was being managed. And so this is the quality of her management company. And I guess the quality of the PR response you're going to get if you sign with her. I think this says a lot about her management company. Like, girl, you need to, you've got other fires that are going to come out of this. Like, if she can't even properly advise herself on not going on a murder tour, I don't know how she's going to help other channels, honestly. Recognize when you're consuming this content, I guess, like, don't sit on like a moral high horse or something, moral grandstanding, I suppose, in some way, just because you consume some content that, even at that, like, I don't understand. I guess people don't really question it. It's like true crime. If a YouTuber is telling me the story, they're pumping out a video every week. So they must not be looking into the story that deep. You know what I mean? Like, when I watch videos by, like, for instance, Minuteman, right? Milo is an archaeologist. He went to school for this. He reads studies. He talks to fellow colleagues in the field. He goes to conferences. So when he talks about debunking archaeology pseudoscience crap, and he tells you the truth of what really happened, I'm more apt to believe him. And I will be like one of the ones to be like, no, I think he's right. Unless another archaeologist questions him, then I listen to their argument, which has happened recently with him. So it's like, I take that more seriously. But like a Bailey Sarian, I'm not going to die on a hill to defend her. She even said she used to work at Sephora. She's not a genius. She just finds this stuff interesting, these stories interesting, and she makes videos about them. So she's not an expert in the knowledge of this. If someone's an expert in the knowledge, then I'd be more apt to take them more seriously and maybe push back on people who are misunderstanding them. I guess it comes with maybe a little bit of self-reflection and things of that nature. However, she does mention, this is what else I like about Mika. I haven't watched some of her other content. She does mention like books that you should read that kind of delve more into stuff like this. And she did just mention a book there too. But definitely, I love she has like references and guides to back up some of her arguments. It's very good. It's very good.
Your opinion can be different than mine. These are one of those things that you can have opinions on. I don't believe like a political opinion can be like, I believe this group of people don't have rights, or per Asmongold, this group of people deserves to be tortured. I don't think that's like opinions that we can disagree on. But the consumption of true crime videos, while I wouldn't be happy about hearing about, is something that we can disagree on. I think unqualified people not citing sources, and when you're not citing your sources, English teacher, ex-English teacher, okay?
These people never give their sources. Call me Chris. She started doing true crime, and yeah, we're going to cover her. She clearly is reading a ChatGPT script. 100% reading a ChatGPT script. Even at that, ChatGPT will give you a list of resource or references or sources or whatever, but you're going to have to go in and like fix it up because it says like ChatGPT throughout the whole thing. But still, like, none of them ever link their references. You know, when I'm doing deep dives on somebody, I will link my references. If I'm just doing like a quick dip thing, or we're like reviewing a video together, whatever, I don't link the references other than like linking the video or the channels or whatever. It's really important that we do link our references, and like nobody does that now. True crime especially should be doing that, because you're covering stuff that's a serious nature. And on top of that, you should be confident in what you're saying in your video to then be confident in being able to provide your references. And yeah, there's so many people, they just like don't anymore. Like, I don't know.
Because this context of this behavior, I think, needs to be brought back up in order to contextualize, first off, my own frustrations as they continue, but also that the blatant disregard and the whoopee, I'm doing a dead people conversation tour. And why? I was like, not surprised. I fear.
When I first filmed this, I was just doing like a little dip to kind of get us started in discussing true crime issues with true crime channels and true crime genre. And when I watched Mika here, she's like, we need to talk about her background to understand why this is even a bigger problem than people realize. And then that's when I thought, okay, I'm going to re-record this. So now this is going to be a long ass video, but I'm going to re-record this. I'm going to do a more thorough explanation of everything, because people who don't know about these other past incidents, which is families asking her to take down videos, which there was one or two more families, but again, I don't have all the sources for that right now, so we'll do that later when we do a deep dive. And then she tried to do the rebrand into Outlaw, which Mika is not aware of the rebrand. I was, because I watched it all kind of go down and I was like, ew. And then that's when I unsubscribed. And now we're doing the Outlaw tour. I don't know. To me, it feels like Eleanor just wants money. That's it. Like, I think she's just chasing money. I don't know much about her, like her personal life, but I did take a look at some of her vlog stuff or whatever. And she's done like a lot of plastic surgeries. I think she lost a lot of weight really quickly. I don't know if she did Ozempic or what she did, but she's done plastic surgeries, obviously for loose skin, but she also got some other work done. There's a lot of beauty stuff that she sort of explains and shows in her vlogs as she goes and gets done. And those procedures are expensive. Like even Ozempic is expensive. And she's in the UK, so they wouldn't cover that stuff because these would be like cosmetic. You know, watching that, then I take a look at some of her social media stuff and it's showing her like these parties and then this and that. I'm just like thinking, you know, I feel like she comes across as very materialistic in real life. I don't know. She doesn't seem very sincere or empathetic, or she seems more like party girl or whatever. It seems like an expensive lifestyle. Not really surprised. There was a lot of people made a lot of money during the pandemic time because it was really big in YouTube land, and TikTok, all of it. People are making big money. And then after, what was happening is all these creators who never made money like that before, people who never had jobs yet, some of them are young, they made a ton of money. They thought that money would be forever. They spent too much. And I've been noticing a lot of them like panicking and doing all these different ways, grasping at ways to make money because they realize that the gravy train is over. And I've noticed this over the last couple of years with certain creators, and they seem to be ones who didn't make smart choices with all the big bank that they made during the pandemic. And then ones that did make smart choices, even them, I've noticed that even they're trying to navigate and figure out how to rework their content because they recognize they're not getting the same views and everything like they used to be. Anyway, long story short, I think that this is all about money for Eleanor, to be honest. I think she's more money hungry than people realize. But again, my opinion.
Okay. I'm aggressively flicking around my lip gloss.
I was just doing that in like the last, I was doing, this is the lip gloss. I was aggressively flicking it around too. That's so funny.
There's just no way to really approach this, okay? When I talk about allegations online, I focus on the perpetrators and the actions of not having it happen again. Another very key thing, besides the source citing aspect that I had already discussed, is that I talk about things that are readily available online. I'm not putting pictures of these people's family members, even censored, putting full names out, doing all of this stuff. Now, clearly it had to be available somewhere for her to find it, but even having the open speculation for this, to be able to go to this degree, should be a problem.
What the sibling was asking for, I don't think was out there. Because what the sibling had the issue with was the family dynamic, the way that Eleanor laid out their family dynamic, how they felt about everyone, how they didn't get along, how they fought, or how they did get along, or who got along with who. That is what the sibling was calling out on Eleanor. And it's not anywhere. It wasn't anywhere because Eleanor made it up for storytelling purposes. And I think that is what the sibling was trying to prove by asking for the references. One, because if it was out there somewhere, yes, they could get it taken down. But two, I think that they suspected that it was a storytelling device. And I think even you mentioned it too at one point too, Mika. I know I'm talking to like she's here. But I think that everyone kind of was recognizing that.
Almost like you're putting ownership on, like, not only are you profiting off of people getting beaten or abused or murdered, you're profiting and almost gatekeeping it. in a really weird way.
And just because I'm set in the way, it says, beyond the plagiarism of it all, it also doesn't let people check if the content is accurate, which we have proof that it has not been in the past.
Every time I do a video, if I read a book, if I cite videos, if Noor gives me...
And it says, and when it is incorrect, people speculate off of incorrect notions about people who passed or were harmed in super horrifying ways. With Joy Morgan, her sister relayed to me that the harm it caused the family. This is not talking poorly about rich, powerful influencers. It's making a spectacle of genuine tragedy. Mika's trying to sort of separate out and be like, we're not criticizing or making fun of a creator and influencer. We're criticizing someone who is taking advantage of tragedy and grief and making money off of it and just making up false narratives too. I really like pretty much everything she says in this video, so I'm gonna try to not use the whole video, but I might use too much of it. Yeah, we'll carry on.
So that's kind of why this time I'm just being a hater openly. And here's my thing. Like I said, I know nothing about Eleanor beyond the content that she puts online. What I am frustrated with is that content and the responses to that content.
When I was giving my opinion of the type of person I suspect she is, it is based on the stuff that she's put online between her vlog channel, her social media, the way that she presents cases, her choices in the rebrand, her choices in the tour makes me believe that she is a certain way. But obviously we don't know her. Like, I don't know her personally or anything, so I can't say for sure. Even if she isn't like that in real life, even if she isn't that type of person, this is a good time for her to reflect and realize that she's presenting herself to be a money hungry liar at this point. You're coming across as money hungry, and then on top of that, we're catching you in lies. Or at the very least, misinformation, which isn't good too. Either way. Oftentimes the misinformation and disinformation is actually worse than just lying, because usually they attach misinformation, disinformation to a truth. So then people think all of it's true, when actually the majority is not true. And this is the thing that I do want to explore in more detail, of course, because we have been covering this when it comes to the paranormal. We've been covering it when it comes to psychics too. And the reality is this crosses over to so many other areas and content and everything. And that's why I do feel like there is a crossover here, especially now that ghost hunters are doing true crime crap and psychics have always done true crime. So there is this crossover. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's to do with death, I suppose. I suppose that's where the kind of crossover meets with all this stuff. So it's going to be interesting though, because we're going to explore this over the next year. And at the end of 2026, when I kind of do my video at the end where we reflect on my belief structures, because I've decided I'm going to do a video every year about my belief structures. And I think this might be an interesting topic to reflect on again. And please do leave me comments below if you have any thoughts throughout all this video as well. Feel free to comment as you watch my videos. You can always just throw timestamps in or just keep commenting on the next thought that you have. Either way, I don't mind. I don't mind if you leave multiple comments. It's cool.
I wanted to see if maybe I was just being a hater. So I watched one of her recent videos called "He Tortured Her for Years," all caps, and left her blind. Right. And hate to say, the use of all caps is giving clickbait title.
We have to do these clickbaity titles and thumbnails, even just a little bit, to compete with each other on the algorithm. So I understand why people do it. If you're going to make your whole career about true crime and you're clearly making up stories about the beginning parts of their lives and the storytelling, you're making stuff up. I don't remember where I was going with this thought, but my point is, I suppose, maybe you shouldn't be clickbaiting. Maybe you shouldn't be doing shock thumbnails and shock titles, which has been my issue with a lot of the true crime people in the last year. Maybe you shouldn't be doing that. I know that you chose this topic to have a career in, and that's a problem that you're going to have to figure out. And when you have millions of followers, do you really need to do that? Because aren't your millions of followers just going to watch you either way? I don't know. I feel like it's fair game for most content, but when it's content where you're not getting, I don't know, when it's content where it's tragedy and trauma and you're not getting the okay from the family to change their story and sell it as a true story, story. Like, I think that's sort of like where my line is, right? Is even, I know I brought him up a couple times, but it's just Beardo recently reacted to Mr. Ballin, and I even left a comment below. I was like, oh, just wait until I ruin him for everyone. And everyone's like, oh, they're like, he was an army, he's a veteran. He, did he say get Purple Heart? I think he got Purple Heart. I don't know. They're like, oh, and his mom is so sweet and she helps him with storytelling. Like that's great. That I'm sure he's a nice person. He comes across as a nice person, but his stories are 80% made up. And when you're watching a video on a true story, when you want to know that only 20% of this story is true, and if he's covering something where somebody died, like he does cover true crime, he does cover like mysterious deaths, things like that, and if he's covering that and he is telling a story and making stuff up that he didn't get the permission of the family to make that story up, isn't that a little bit unethical? I wouldn't have a problem if he just was like fictional stories based on true events. But no, he markets it saying that these are all true stories. Now, under his channel description, or no, it's not a channel, under each video description, I think it is, it says based on a true story at the bottom of like the little description thing. But nobody reads the details, the video details. Nobody reads those. Even TV puts it on the screen at the beginning of a film or a TV show, or at the very least they put it at the end. Like I'm pretty sure there's a requirement for this. Mika would probably know because she has studied this stuff. She knows the media requirements and laws, but there has to be a requirement for this. And that's why they put that on the screen, because people aren't going to go out of their way to read some text in an area that they never look, because no one ever looks at video details. You know, I just feel like you should put it up on the screen and make it very clear that you have written a fictional story based on a true story, even more fictional than you guys think it is, you know? So yeah, this is where everything kind of comes full circle in a lot of areas. And I think this is a problem in general, is just people not being truthful, because people know that on YouTube, true stories, they sell. They do better. They get more clicks. They get better clicks. They get better viewership and everything. But the viewers don't realize that the stories aren't actually true, that they are fictional. Like the majority of it's fictionalized. I went and looked at a recent Mr. Ballin episode because I haven't watched him for some time. After I realized that he was making up half to 80% of his stories, I stopped watching him because it ruined it for me. If he was selling this as stories based on true stories, like fictional stories based on true stories, I would still be watching him at this point, because he would have been truthful from the beginning, right? So I went and looked at his recent upload, I think last night, and it was a true crime one. I looked in the video details. There's no references. There's no link to sources about the story. And there's just a little thing at the very bottom of after everything else, after all the other details, and it says like based on a true story. And it doesn't even say, you know, fictional story based on true story, or based on a true story. Some things in this story, some things, and names and whatnot may be changed, blah, 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 like what TV and movies usually do, what books have to do. And then on top of it too, when it comes to TV, movies, books, usually when they do create something based on a true story, usually the people involved in said story get a cut of the profits from it. And also people are more likely to sue and stuff in these cases. So that's probably why. But YouTubers are getting away with this stuff. And eventually something's going to give where a family member comes forward and starts suing YouTubers that are covering a story. Like eventually that is going to happen. And that's going to be the only time where this stuff actually starts changing. Either that or the audience starts realizing and rising up and stopping watching this stuff, but they won't. People just like can't help themselves. They have to take in this true crime slop nowadays.
A DV story that you have no involvement in and don't know any of these people, and you refuse to provide where the information came from. Right. Let's continue. So I'm going to summarize it. It is linked for you. Okay. These are my observations. Spoiler alert. I hate to say this video, like, made me feel like physically ill. But I'm watching this just being like, I don't understand how someone can make this content and how so many people, how this is like a very like big thing, big phenomenon. This extends beyond this. Like, a lot of my comments, by the way, extend far beyond Eleanor. A lot of these people aren't positioning themselves as the moral face of this genre of content. Like Bailey Sarian, is that the one that does the makeup? And then there's the one that does the mukbangs, like the noodles. She had beef with Nikocado Avocado, or is it Stephanie Sue, question mark? I don't watch these people.
Yeah, and Stephanie Sue's another one that I want to cover too, because I think the mukbang aspect of it I find really gross and weird. But like, I understand because it's interesting, because I don't really take issue too much with the makeup because I realize why they're doing it. But I suppose I get the same disgust for the mukbang as what people get for the makeup. However, with Stephanie Sue, I used to follow her, and over this last year, she has been picking the most sensational stories, ones with gore, ones with all this, and her thumbnails have been absolutely disgusting. Like, I ended up unsubbing from her, even though I hadn't watched her videos in like a long time, but I unsubbed from her literally just because her thumbnails and video titles. I found them to be absolutely deplorable. I haven't even looked at the content. Just like the thumbnails and video titles have been really turning me off of a lot of true crimers.
My first point writes, I'm going to read them verbatim. This is exactly what I was thinking when I was watching. Eleanor immediately goes to describing how this woman was suffocated in blankets and until her eyes fell out. Then sullen tone changes to dramatics, where we hear the transition of the story into where it was located. Then the tone shifts again because we're all happy. Casetify sponsor time, yay. So once again, not providing a single source, Eleanor speculates and two languages, and dramatizes this woman's upbringing and family life. She says things like, he wanted to do the British accent because I'm cringe and I'm pissed off. She fell pregnant at 16, but one thing is for sure, she would keep that baby. In a way that she's, and obviously she kept the baby because the kids are alive, but the way that she says these things is like, I knew what she was thinking. Like, for example, it's like, how do you know that she didn't like try to get an abortion or didn't think about it? You know what I mean? How do you know that like she was so down for that in that way? And it's just like speculating on.
And this is the biggest thing that any of you who are watching this and my future videos when we discuss storytelling and whatnot, the biggest thing I would like everyone to take out of this kind of stuff, this kind of criticism, is when you hear someone tell a story that's true story and then they talk about how someone was feeling inside or how their relationship with said family member really was, or these fond memories, I want you to ask yourself, how does this YouTuber or documentarian or whatever, how do they know this? How did they find that out? Why would they know this? I need you all to start asking yourself this. Honestly, it was Mr. Ballin's video that first started me down this of asking, wait, how do you know that though? And this was years back, okay? This was like, I think like maybe 2017 or something. This was a while back when I kind of had this realization with Mr. Ballin. I think it was pre-pandemic. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, point is, there was that. But I had always consumed true crime content and just, it never clicked in me. I guess it's like a belief structure, which I've been discussing in my deconstructing like belief structures and stuff video thing that I'm kind of doing every year now. I feel like you can apply these cognitive dissonance and belief structure issues on everything. And because true crime was already something I consumed since I was very young, it was like grandfathered into my brain that I shouldn't question it. But now in this last year, especially, I've started questioning it more. And I think it was when ghost hunters started using apps to say that they solved crimes. And then I started kind of looking into the crime that they were presenting and what was actually true and finding out like, oh, it's bullocks. Like half the stuff they say is bullocks. And then that is why this past year too, I was like, something's weird with true crime right now. Like it is getting more glorified, gory, less respect for the victims, all this other stuff, but just something wasn't clicking as to like, what's the other issue? I'm feeling like there's something here that's bothering me too, that I just can't put my finger on. And then I watched this video here with Mika and I was like, oh, it's the storytelling crap. It's the same stuff that I seen with like Mr. Ballin. It's the storytelling, the making up crap. And that's what's been bothering me. So
Miles says that he likes this because it reminds people that there are humans behind the stories that happen. And I can understand that perspective. The problem is that I see it as you're lightening up this content to be more entertainment via speculation on these outside details, right? You're trying, which I talked about this in my original video on Eleanor Neale, the perfect victim narrative that is a problem in TV true crime content as well.
Family was so big. Their grandmother was very, very involved in their upbringing. And from what I can tell, Tina had a really nice childhood, a really nice home life and a family life. Then, when she was just 16 years old, Tina found out that she was pregnant. I can only imagine the range of emotions that must come with finding that out at such a young age. But one thing was sure with Tina. She knew that she wanted to keep this baby. And so 9 months later, Tina is the mother of a beautiful baby boy. The father of this baby was Tina's boyfriend at the time, but as with most high school relationships, they didn't stay together very long. And Tina soon found herself a single teen mum. But she had all the support in the world from her family. This baby boy was going to grow up with 5 doting aunties and uncles alongside grandma, great-grandma, and of course, Tina herself turned out to be a fabulous mother.
At least if, let's say I talked about this with my boyfriend last night. I was on like a rant, okay? The Joy Morgan story aired on what's History Channel? I don't know like what channels do it, okay? Whatever. And then the family members contacted the studio and contacted news outlets and said, hey, this is completely inaccurate. It would have become like a media scandal and the anchor would have been canned, okay? There are consequences and journalistic integrity that come with that at bare minimum, the mainstream stuff. And this is me still hating the mainstream stuff. People really will take their parasociality and cloud the fact that anybody can make a damn YouTube video, girl. Just because I happen to have a little bit of a more expensive camera and a little bit more of an expensive mic than people, which took years to acquire, need I mention, than the average schmo, doesn't mean that my boyfriend, my friends, my mom, can just pick up the phone and inaccurately recite a Wikipedia page about someone's sister who died. I just don't see the value with that. Puts pictures of all the family members, but blurs their faces. It's that humanization aspect, but I'm like, you're pulling in so many personal details where it feels like you're forcibly trying to make us empathize with this person, where the empathy should just be a given on the fact that like she was abused.
This is something too that I brought up when I did the Ashley video as well. As I said, I'm not going to talk about her son. I'm not going to talk about her husband. They are not public figures. They have not put themselves out online. When I covered the Idaho case as well, I said, I'm not going to show or mention the family or friends who have decided not to come out. Like the 2 of the roommates stayed quiet. So I tried to like not use their names. I blurred out their names and bleeped out their names and stuff because they were facing so much backlash. They were avoiding the press. They were asking people not to say their names and people were still sharing their names everywhere. But it's like anyone who didn't go out of their way to do a press conference, anyone who isn't already a public figure, things of that nature, I'm not going to include them when I present the stories. I just think it's crappy to do, especially when you have millions of followers, just to put all the family, their pictures, their names, whatever out there when they didn't ask for this horrible traumatic event to happen. If they haven't gone out of the way to do press conferences, if they haven't gone out of the way to put themselves in the public eye, just leave them be. Because this isn't seeking fame or some crap. Even if one of your family members, well, even Ashley Gillard sought fame. Her family didn't ask her to do that. Her family didn't ask to be a part of it, so I leave them out of it. I guess journalistic integrity in a way, not that I don't really see myself necessarily as a journalist, but I try to present my information like a video essay. And I loved writing in school. I loved writing all the time, and I love writing essays. I loved writing essays. A lot of people hate writing essays. I love them. But part of the essay writing thing was providing sources for everything that you're saying. So that is what I try to do too. Anyway, I'm off on a side tangent with this. Really, like, the point I was trying to get at is more just if other people in the story didn't ask for this and didn't seek out press conferences or to be put in the limelight, then don't put them there.
And I'm having trouble voicing it, and I could be wrong, but it's like something's just missing here for me. Talks about the perpetrator love bombing, all that kind of stuff, but just does a lot of really offhanded, lighthearted speculation on like how he love bombed her and how he carried himself. she has a learning moment or teaching moment, I suppose, which I feel like is kind of the fodder that a lot of her fans will use as a means of being like, this person makes good content compared to the other ones, where she talks about coercive control and then talks about the UK Centre for DV as like the charity of the day. Now, charity having in the video is good. Okay. I really like, this is where the nuance hat has to come on. Okay. And I'm trying, I need you to give me the benefit of the doubt that I'm not trying to be evil, okay? It's just when you're so blasé about how you carry yourself through this whole video, you speculate on so many things. You're cussing like a sailor. You're talking to the other people in the way that I talk to like the divas about the night out at the bar.
Yeah, so there it is, because she didn't experience the rebranding. And that is what Eleanor has been trying to do. She's been trying to be more lighthearted or like loose with how she talks. Like she is talking to the divas at the bar. And that is what she originally wanted. She did it too hard, too quick with the rebrand. And she came back, she did go back to her old ways, but she tries to slip it in. She tries to kind of like be a little bit more laxed about it. Her mentioning about like support services, different things of that nature for said topic. I do wonder when people do that, like for true crime specifically, because a lot of videos for true crimers get demonetized. So I just wonder, like, do they do that performatively in the hopes that their video won't be demonetized, or do they do it performatively so it looks better in the viewer's eyes, or is there like some legal liability? Because legal liability is pretty huge. How much of them providing that stuff is related to those choices versus actually wanting to help someone? With her, is she saying that she did it in the middle of the video, which is kind of weird because normally you would save that stuff to the end of the video. And honestly, like a lot of times with me too, if I tackle a topic, I mean to put resources in just in case people are looking for it. But sometimes I forget. But usually it's like I will mention it at the end of the video. And then sometimes I just forget to actually record a little spiel about it. And then I'll just throw them in the video details anyway. In the middle of the video seems odd. I don't know. I just wonder if that is a YouTube checker thing. Because I know YouTube that they check different minutes of a video for different things, I guess, to figure out if it should be age restricted or demonetized or anything of that nature. So I'm curious about that. I mean, I'm speculating here, but I'm just wondering because when it comes to true crime people, I just feel like a lot of what they do is performative. I don't trust a lot of the stuff that they do as sincere. There's not many of them out there that actually come across as sincere people. So I think that's part of it too.
You have like an introduction, like monologue and everything. It kind of feels like the charity part's like out of place. It's good that at least she's doing that. I just feel like there's a lot of surrounding posturing, and that if it felt like she was carrying these things with the weight that they deserve, I feel like I wouldn't feel this way. But that's me leaning really deep into like the discourse analysis and like how she's saying things and the way that she's positioning her opinions and then those alignments. And that's not something that a lot of people are doing. That's an opinion piece. And I say that me being a little bit kind of like, oh, that's kind of out of nowhere is better than just pocketing all the money every time and never helping a single soul. Okay. I'm saying that. Talks about the perpetrator and then talks about him having like roid rage. Just again, like weird casual cadence. And there's a ton of speculation regarding like the feelings of the children and like the traumas that they face. And obviously it was a very traumatic thing for them. The thing is that those kids will be able to consume content eventually, right? So this happened in like what I think she said like 2012. The kids, let's say if they were toddlers, were born probably 2010. They're 15 now.
So if they're 15 now, she said it was a recent video. So if they're 15 now, how did she get information about how the children were feeling? Where did she get that information from? highly doubt that she interviewed the kids, but if she did, those are minors, and that's a little weird. But I don't think she did. But this is where we have to start asking these questions, is where all the inner monologue stuff, this person felt this way or this person felt that way. We need to question these things because these are storytelling tools and they're not actually getting them from any source at all.
And I think if my mom got horribly abused in front of me, and then someone in a podcast setup talking about the abuse, roid rage, like, it's the way that I genuinely can't fathom that reality. She even has color-coded thematic chapter cards. One of them literally being blinded. They look like they're made on Canva. Okay, so it's like a Canva themed card for the chapters called Blinded by Her Boyfriend with other dramatics. There's one where it actually pissed me off so bad. It was like a picture of her, then it goes grayscale. So you hit the color switch on Vegas Pro, girl, or whatever you're using. So this is all of my context as to why people might be feeling the way they do about that true crime. Because I also want to do one more thing that I noticed. Here are Eleanor Neal's thumbnails, and here are TMZ's thumbnails. And the biggest difference is the TMZ thumbnails have red borders on them. Why do you have a arrow pointing at a child that it says, please don't kidnap me?
Eleanor's thumbnails are pretty bad too. There's worse ones out there as well. But I have noticed that the thumbnails have been looking in the last year or two more and more like TMZ, like Gossip Mag kind of look to them. And that has been actually turning me off of a lot of the true crime channels, honestly. I just can't stand like seeing these things. So I've unsubscribed from a lot of them that I just hadn't watched in a while because I've been busy anyway. And then I see their thumbnails and their video titles and the topics they're choosing. And I'm just like, ugh, come on, man. It's like you're clearly doing this for a reason, right? Because it makes money. And there's people that are into this stuff. That's the thing. It's kind of sick because when I was investigating Colin some more, because I do want to retouch on that stuff, but he has a podcast, a true crime one, called Murder in America as well. I was kind of looking into it because people said to me, oh, you should look into that. It's pretty bad. They reenact the crimes with audio and stuff and audio effects, and it's really gross. Gross isn't like you're a gross person for doing that. But I ended up down a Reddit rabbit hole where there was a bunch of people who were like, oh, I'm tired of all these true crime channels and all these true crime podcasts not being gory enough for me. And they're like, can you recommend any podcasts that aren't scared to talk about whatever the gore? I want the gore. And I'm just like, what the hell? And of course, his podcast was provided by many people. This stuff sells, and there's people that know that it sells, and that's what they're leaning into. Like that is what I think Colin does. Like he leans into it. Eleanor, I feel like doesn't want to keep, honestly, it feels like she doesn't want to keep doing true crime because it's depressing her. Honestly, it's what it seems like. And she's trying to find a way to make it more fun so that she doesn't burn out, so that she doesn't get depressed, so that she doesn't, tailspin. I honestly think that's what Eleanor's doing, to be honest. With Eleanor, I'm just going to say, like, it just feels like bad decisions for the wrong reasons when maybe you should just change your niche and get into a different topic. Some of the other people, however, though, they seem to be changing up and going more gory and things like that to match with what people are looking for, what this like weird kind of subsection of viewers are looking for. It's hitting a point where a lot of these true crime stuff are starting to almost look like those snuff kind of things on the dark web. And it's sad because this is YouTube and we shouldn't be seeing things like this on YouTube. Like I understand people are like, oh yeah, free speech, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but can we have like respect for victims? Like why can't we just talk about the story? We don't have to show all this other stuff. We don't have to explain in gory detail about things. We can tell the story without all of this extra stuff that just exploits these people. Okay, now she's going to move into her next part of her video where she talks about Eleanor announcing the tour. I really like the beginning of this video. Like I agreed with all these points on the true crime, and this is sort of like the whole reason I wanted to start covering true crime is a lot of what she says in the beginning of this video here. So we'll take a look at the rest of the stuff to do with her Eleanor announcing the tour. We'll work through it and I'll see what I end up cutting. And otherwise, of course, I'll throw links to everything down below.
On December 15th, Eleanor Neale announced via her Instagram that she is taking the podcast of The Tales of Strangers' Sufferings on the road.
And I can't wait to do it all with you in person. So to sign up for pre-sale tickets, follow the link in my bio and use the code usual disclaimer. Then at 10 a.m. tomorrow, on Tuesday, December 16th, you will have first access to grab your tickets. So set your alarms. And if you do pick one up, please tag me, DM me. I want to see, I want to get excited with you. I can't reveal everything we have in store just yet, but just know we have an incredible show planned with fun moments and surprises that you won't see coming. We'll be starting with a few intimate shows across the UK to warm us up. So if you get in there now, you can say that you were an Outlaw Tour OG. We started this journey together. So on the 8th of April, I will be at Leicester Square Theatre in London. On the 11th of April, I'll be at Academy 2 in Manchester. And finally, my hometown show. On April 16th, I'm going to be at the Wardrobe in Leeds. It's such a full circle moment for me. I've watched so many shows there myself. So again, sign up for a ticket pre-sale through the link in my bio. I can't wait to share an unforgettable night with you all, filled with all things outlaw. It's been such a long time coming. So I guess I'll see you in a theatre near you. Oh, don't worry if these locations are a little bit far off. I'm sure there will be more shows on the horizon in plenty more locations. In fact, sign up to see when I'm going to be in your area. Thank you all so much for making this possible. I'm so excited. Let's do this.
The audience did not seem particularly keen on this when she announced it. Understandably so. And I'm going to read some of the comments, and obviously they're on screen for you as well. So this person comments, "I've been listening to you and following you for years. I don't believe I'll be continuing after this. I don't mean this as hateful comment, but hopefully as a wake-up call. You already profit off of other people's awful stories, which is fine if it continued to be educational and respect." To me, I think with no professional experience, besides like throwing in a random definition from something with like an infographic, I think that's debatable, but that's personal opinion from me.
Yeah, and I think it may have been the Over the Pond, the second part that they did on Eleanor recently, where they discussed how educational is this stuff actually. And they made really good points. You're more likely to like get hit by a car or, probably even get hit by lightning than you are to be murdered. Like it's not that common, to the point that you need all of these YouTubers making bank off these stories and tragedies to be educational. Like it's really not. It's not necessarily, and it's not educational in any way at all. The only things that are educational about stuff like this is if you went and did like a criminology degree. And the criminology degrees, you're concentrating more on analyzing the killers than you are dealing with the victims. So it's still very disrespectful to the victims if you would turn that into content that you're making money off of. Like this isn't educational at all. Like, I don't see how it would be. There's really nothing to it that would make it educational. So I don't agree with any of this stuff. But this is the spin that all the true crime channels have been putting on it for years now to try and explain away what they do for a living, how they make money off tragedies. And it's the same spin as like psychics. They're like, well, if someone was grieving and if this gave them a moment of relief, or if this stopped them from grieving, then it doesn't matter if they're lying because they helped people. It's like, well, it doesn't stop them from grieving. That's the thing. It's like a Band-Aid for that evening or a week. They might feel better, but then they start feeling like crap again because that's not actually working through your problems. You can't just bury something. You need to actually work through it. And seeing a psychic, whatever, celebrity psychic, what's going to happen is a couple weeks go by or a month or 6 months, and they're going to end up seeing some other psychic who's small time, who then will just keep fleecing them for more and more money because they haven't worked through their grief. They just keep seeing psychics for it. Like, it's a temporary fix when you do see stuff like that. And it's an excuse for psychics to rip people off and be grief vampires. This is the excuse that true crime YouTubers are using to make money off tragedy and death and just horrible, horrible shit. And they use this excuse as a shield. It's also the same as like, there's fake ghost hunters out there. They will use God and being good old Christian boys or whatever as a shield to explain away their actions as to what they're doing. People who grift always find some type of shield that they can use to explain away their actions. And these true crime YouTubers are just as bad. And I mean, it's not just the YouTubers. It's also, the producers of different TV shows, movies, books, lots of different things. Just we're seeing it more prevalent with YouTube is huge, and anyone can pick up a mic, open up a web browser, and then start up a true crime channel. So it's getting more and more slop than it ever was before.
What happened to the old Ellie? What happened to the meaning of no respect to anyone I talk about in this video? And the empathy that you would have in the delivery of your cases. What a shame. This rebrand is really disappointing. Now, here's my tea. Like, of all the stuff that I already talked about, I really think that little disclaimer at the beginning doesn't really make that much of a difference. But the fact that that doesn't even exist anymore, I feel like lends itself to something. Is all I'm gonna say about that. Okay.
Right. And just to mention this, because I forgot about this part. So at the beginning of Eleanor's videos, when she first started, she would have like a, and this was the discount code. She makes a joke out of it now. The, what was it? Typical disclaimer or something like that. It was her discount code for her tickets, right? Usual disclaimer. So she used to start off every video saying usual disclaimer. And then she would talk about, having respect for the victim. She would also then mention any trigger warning stuff of today's case. If you needed to click off of it, you know, And she stopped doing that. And the fact that she stopped doing that after this rebrand, that is telling. No, I agree. That does say something. Like, why would you stop doing that? That's actually a respectful thing to keep doing. So if you're going to stop doing that, like, what's the point? Why would you make a decision to stop doing the respectful disclaimer? It just makes no sense.
After a week of consistent backlash on her own social medias, along with discourse online and other platforms, we got a notes app posted to her Instagram story, which reads as follows. Hey guys, we were talking about you, dog. Hear your concerns about the Outlaw tour.
Okay, so this is the note that I was reading out to you guys on that other video. I wasn't sure where they got it from. So yeah, it was an Instagram story because she did a video, but I guess she did a note too. So it just says what we've already been kind of reviewing, saying we hear your concerns. From the very beginning, Outlaw has been built on the ethos that true crime cases deserve to be handled with care, empathy, and responsibility. We stood by these principles for 8 years. They've guided every episode, as well as how the live shows have been created and presented. The shows are to be an extension of the channel's long-standing commitment to respectful storytelling, reflection, and awareness. I also want to make it clear that all of the proceeds from ticket sales will be donated to vital nonprofit organizations supporting those affected by violence. And we're still in planning conversations with these charities, exploring meaningful ways to involve them throughout, but I'll be able to tell you more specific collaboration plans soon. See, this thing, it was mentioned in a few people have mentioned this online, is like I already said, why are you just now talking to charities now? Why did you not already have a plan to include the charities? Because you just did it. Because you just started including them after you received backlash. Like, it's very clear what's going on here. Yeah. This is just complete BS. It's absolutely PR jargon speak, trying to clean up the mess that you created. And two, I don't know who your management is or whatever, or if Eleanor maybe just oversees everything and she doesn't listen to people's advice. This was a bad move. Her rebrand was already bad. She was able to kind of bury the story about her lying about cases with that family coming forward, the family member coming forward, because not many people know about that, surprisingly. I thought more people knew about that. This one, she has not been able to bury as easily. This has been like a complete mess. Everyone is talking about this. And then lastly, and the story says, we recognize this genre carries weight, and I've always taken responsibility seriously. Everything I do and everything we continue to do as Outlaw will always have these core values and principles at the heart. Thank you so much to everyone who continues to support myself and Outlaw with understanding and trust. The community we've built together over the years means more to me than I can put into words. I wonder too, like the way that she always talks about Outlaw, like I wonder, is there some like liability thing there? Like, is she trying to say like, you know, she's just the face? So if something else comes up, then she can blame like the internet archivist or anarchist, how he tried to blame an employee for his plagiarism. But it was him.
This is why I feel weird about the charity thing. Because if this feels like you were criticizing a charity event. When I read that, I went back to the announcement, rewatched it, went through all of the posts about it, all of the stuff that she wrote about it. There is not a single mention of charity. It's really giving. You threw that in after people were mad at you. And if that's the case, then cancel the tour, girl. Because that's gross as hell.
I felt that way too when I was kind of processing all this stuff coming out. Other YouTubers felt that way as well. Like, I'm hearing the same commentary. Everyone's saying this feels very performative. You suddenly shoehorning a charity in. Even, I went to look at the website when she did that announcement, the website for the ticket sales, and there was still no charity. There was nothing about charity on the website mentioned. Whereas normally when people partner with charities, they'll have the name of the charity registration number, all the other stuff, or at the very least, they'll say a portion of these proceeds are going towards charity, but none of that is on the ticket sales website. I don't know if it is today, but it wasn't when she first released this apology. It really does feel like this is just shoehorned in after the fact to try to clean up the PR disaster that this has turned into. Sadly, unfortunately, what I was seeing is that these places are still sold out. But this is the thing. There is a market for people that are looking for stories that are less and less empathetic. People get off on hearing about these gross people that do these horrible things to somebody and these lives ruined. And there's a market for this. I think that probably her shows will be sold out wherever she does go, because there is going to be people, one, that are loyal to her, but two, people that like to treat this as gossip stories, people that like to hear about the gore and everything. And sadly, that is what's fueling this industry. And all it's going to take, I think, though, is just like, we got to keep talking about these issues with it and wake people up. The ones that aren't into the gore and gross stuff, but like wake the others up to realize like, hey, this is not an ethical industry. We need to stop supporting it and you need to stop consuming this content, because there's not many of them out there that are ethical. The majority of them, it's just about the money and the clicks and stuff for them. Okay, now she is looking at a video of somebody who's explaining the rebrand drama that happened. She then is she's saying here that she wants to show you the tone shift and what she noticed. So I'm going to include this because I think it might be interesting.
So this situation isn't actually the first time that Eleanor has been in hot water. Since she's come back from her break, her videos lacked that serious tone that they had before. Instead, this podcast episode was a lot more like laid back and chit-chatty.
I just love going on tangents. Man, have I missed this. Just chewing your ear off about anything I want to in the middle of a true crime case. They were definitely close friends. It's just the vagueness about like the nature of their relationship. Like, were they f***ing? I don't know.
Which makes sense since it's a podcast, so it's supposed to be less scripted. However, obviously discussing quite serious matters, it should be serious and well thought out. However, following this video, her fans are quick to point out this change in tone and how they did not appreciate it at all and how they found it disrespectful.
Before we get into this, I want to show what it replaced. This is the tonality that she does now. This is what it is like now. This is the video that I watched earlier that is linked in the description as well.
Hanging out of her head. Her attacker twisting the knife, letting her know that now, after what he had just done to her, she would never be able to see the faces of her children ever again. This is the truly haunting story of what happened to Tina Nash, not just on the night of the attack, but the gradual increasing hell that she endured leading up to those final blows. At the age of 27, Tina Nash was swept off her feet by a man that she thought could be her soulmate. He adored her and showered her with affection. It truly was like movie love. Until the movie switched up. Her partner's mask slipped.
What's interesting with this, actually, after watching this video, is that's not even true. The way that she's framing it isn't the same as she frames it later. Because later in the video, she says that he stalked her and tried to love bomb her, and she actively avoided him, and that very quickly in the relationship, it got really bad. So then which one is it? And I shouldn't be having that thing when we're talking about somebody getting nearly beaten to death.
This is just like a perfect example. She essentially debunks the intro just by watching the rest of the same video. And this is the stuff that I want to explore more, because there's a lot more of this happening, but a lot more mistakes and oopsies to catch these people doing this crap in.
with no, like,
They're back.
oh yeah, and then this tone shift, like, it's actually Whiplash crazy style.
Like I said, Shane was a few years older than Tina. He was 22 when they met. And he was the kind of man who would not take no for an answer. He thought that Tina was just playing hard to get with him, and maybe if he just kept chasing and pounced on her, then maybe he would win her.
Before she even says her part here, you notice how much like Eleanor is acting this out. Like it is very much content. It's storytelling. It's not taking it seriously for being a serious story.
I'm laughing at the absurdity. You're talking about somebody love bombing and something stalking someone. And that's how, and this is like the dramatization that you're positioning, right? Complaining about the tone shift becoming way less serious and the videos really declining in quality back then. And that was in 2022. So I'm just saying that it's interesting to see kind of how things have continued.
Okay, I'm just skipping through a lot of these. We kind of looked already at all these clips. It's interesting. Mr. Ballin did this. Loads of murder mystery people do tours. But did Mr. Ballin also does a lot of storytelling that isn't true stories too and isn't murder. So did he do that? And this is the thing. I feel like Mr. Ballin's kind of gone under the radar, but I feel like no one's really been questioning the ethics of true crime. And like as heavily as people have been in the last couple of years. I've noticed people are getting more and more like questioning it more now. So I think that some people maybe got away with stuff in the past, but I think people are going to start pushing back more. I don't know where this is going to take us. I do think it's healthy for us to push back. And I think that some of you guys are not going to agree with everything I say, and that's okay. And some of you love some of these creators and you don't want to think badly of them. And that's your choice as well. The biggest thing I would just say is like really ask yourself, like if you're watching Mr. Ballin because you enjoy true stories, those stories are made up stuff. Once in a while, he might have one that's pretty close, like the majority of it is, but mainly it is stuff that he has added in, fluff to add in to make it a good story for a storytelling podcast. If you're okay with that, great. But if you truly believe that every story they tell, all the details are 100% accurate, come on. Like, and if that is a problem for you personally, if you aren't happy that you're being lied to about how much accuracy is in a story, that's what I'm asking you guys to question about yourselves. And if you're taking a look, you have a favorite true crime podcaster or YouTuber. A lot of people do. It's a big industry. And if you have a favorite one, have you really asked yourself, is everything that they're giving us true? Is all this information accurate? Are they maybe embellishing something? If they are embellishing it, are you okay with that? Are you okay with the fact that they don't actually put a disclaimer? At the very least, Mr. Ballin has a disclaimer in the video details saying based on a true story, but that doesn't really tell you how much is the true story. The true crime people are not telling you based on, they're telling you this is the true story, but they're adding in stuff that isn't part of the story. And there's a lot of people that just want to consume this content and they don't want to question it. I guess so be it. And often those are also the people that love consuming ghost hunting content and don't question it either. And ghost hunting's crossing over with true crime. So I don't know.
If you're someone who consumes this content, I'm not looking down on you because, or anything like that. You're not the one doing these things. And this content clearly has utility and entertainment value for some people. It's just not me.
Miss Kitty finally came back, returned. She wasn't in throughout all this video because she ran away from me and now she came back. So there's your obligatory toe beams. But yes, thank you guys for coming out to the premiere and watching this video again later too. Let me know your thoughts on all this. I think you get an idea of where we kind of want to take this. This is a video more of me like reacting and reporting on the recent news around Eleanor. But when I do some more true crime, like deep dive and expose stuff, I do want to do more of a video essay style where we're going to dive into things. I'll have a bunch of resources, references and everything. And we'll kind of nitpick down into the details of everything. But this is getting our feet wet, just a little test into this topic area. So please do leave me any feedback if you guys have any on this as well. Also, if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and comment below. Commenting helps push it in the algorithm, and it really does help out the channel. If you have any hype points as well available, if you hype up this video, I really would appreciate that too. As you know, I want to kind of keep the channel growing because I'm struggling during the winter. So, but anyways, I appreciate anything you guys can do to help out. You know, all that stuff helps for free. And if you've enjoyed my videos, don't forget to subscribe, because then you should be alerted as to when new videos are released as well. And thank you to all the members and patrons. I appreciate all your support. It really does help out. It goes a long way. Trust me, it means a lot. And I appreciate you guys coming back every month as well. But yeah, so I'll have fun chatting with you in the premiere, and I will catch you guys in the next video. I look forward to seeing your comments below. All right, have a good rest of your day. Bye. Backlash.